Oh. On va regarder la FNCS les gars. On va la regarder, voir ce que ça donne. Attendez, mon casque là il commence à me saouler. Tirer de bleu les familles. Et donc là si je fais bleu. Oui ça marche. Si je fais jaune. Chat du jeu, comme ça il ne cassera plus les couilles avec sa musique là. Allez hop, en rouge. Bim bam boum. On se mate la petite FNCS. Mais attends, mais comment il a fait lui? Eh mais lui je vais le tuer hein. Wesh, bah, c'est bon en fait j'ai compris pour comment il a fait. Son délire là. Putain mais là alors là on va encore mieux. Putain ça bug là.
I'd say usually around like 3 o'clock is when I pop on, start playing. And turning usually around 6, so I'll take a break at like 4, pop back on 5. You know, aim train, all that. And then non-tournament days I play like scrim and stuff, practice. All that, you know, body review.
What's the team you're looking at for? Who do you think is like potential best duo there?
I think there's a couple to be honest. I think Mero good as one to watch out. Rise, Leaders, that duo is very good.
How is your mental approach to the game?
I don't really like rage and stuff. I try to like always get my head in the game and always think, oh, what can we do? You know, like, how can we get back on track? Once I get in the game, I try to freestyle it. I have some like strategies and like ideas what to do.
You have your head on your shoulders, which is good. You know, you sound confident. You sound analytical about it. Have you always been that way, or did you do something in particular to get to that point?
As I advance the rankings, I feel like slowly my confidence grew.
Do you have any advice on who struggle building up confidence? Outside they're just placing better and being more confident.
Try to hype yourself up, you know? People call themselves bad all the time. Slowly that gets to your head, you know?
And you're going into that first game of an FNCS, you're nervous, you know, and you're in your finals. You're super nervous? When was that away?
I'd say before the game I'm really nervous, but like when I get in the game, I lock in, I feel.
Do you have a career highlight moment?
Winning a game, and that's just that was the best. I feel like loading as a leader, and I just won.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here as well. Good luck in everything.
Ouais, vous savez bien que là ils allaient dire que ça allait commencer. Parce que en haut à droite vous pouvez voir le timer qui se réduit. Waouh, mais ça a l'air fort. Ah ouais, mais eux ils jouent comme ça maintenant, ouais, c'est vrai. Quand ils font des gros tournois comme ça, ils jouent avec les trucs de vie comme ça et tout. Ça c'est bien, tu vois. Un peu à l'ancienne. Et ça c'est bon dans les... Enfin je crois hein. Putain, GG à lui. Oh oh oh, oh. Lui il est fort. Ça c'est l'original. Danser. Non, j'aurais pas usé toutes ces balles à le tuer, toi. Mais bon, lui c'est un pro, donc j'ai le droit de rien dire. Tu vois, lui dans la FNCS, pas moi. Donc je ferme ma gueule, tu vois. Il a eu raison de pas piocher. Tantôt l'autre gars là. Petite FNCS là. What? Comment il est mort? 10, 9, 8, 7. Eh, je suis arrivé au bon temps. Hein. Ah, Vladilac, toi aussi tu l'as?
FNCS Naized. The competition has never been tougher as we enter the last day of the FNCS finals.
Ça commence les gars. J'ai arrêté de bouger. Arrêtez de bouger, casse-toi. Ouais, les cascos et tes dos là. Oui,
But they also have the highest point game on day one with an astonishing 62 points. With 2 BRs under their belt, are they able to hit match point today? OMG is competing in his first FNCS finals, ending day one 4th place, just 9 points behind Veux and
Casse-toi, c'est pour pourrir l'ambiance.
If they want to call themselves champions of NAE. 6 games down, 6 to go. Who will secure the title of NAE champions? FNCS starts right now.
T'as vu, moi je suis gentil au moins.
Thank you, voice of the guy. This is it, the final act. To quote world-renowned Fortnite philosopher Mon PlayStation, duos have formed, legends will rise. Who will walk away as your FNCS NAE Chapter 3 Season 1 champions? Can Booga and Miro claim their crown once more? That's what we're here to find out. Welcome back into FNCS Finals NAE. It is day 2. My name is Adam Savage. I am delighted to be your host. It is gonna be superb today. We're gonna find out by the end of the day who your champions are of this region. Now, I could say every accolade under the glistening Fortnite sun to do justice these exceptional analysts alongside me. Fellas, Vivid, Somebody's Gun, Welcome. Boys, the three of us here on the panel tonight breaking down all the action, the viewers at home. Vivid, this is what it's all about. Day 2 of finals, we had an amazing day 1, and today is eating up, baby. Break it down, what's coming our way?
Yeah, combined with the day 1 action that we saw in NAEs, and then watching EU finalize its day 2, watching 10 and Breezy over there, bring it all the way down to that game 6 on day 2. I'm so excited to see what NAEs can bring us.
We got a lot to live up to. Day 1 was hot and heavy, and then we had the EU popping off for hand. That was an incredible performance. We saw some incredible performances on our own region, and we have the best of the best once again, boys.
certainly do. There's nothing like seeing Game 12 as well, EU and Hen winning, obviously outright, coming first as well, but getting a victory royale solo clutch in the end. Love to see it. I'm hoping for the same exhilaration here on NAE as well. Let's talk about Legends Landing. Obviously, you guys have heard about this lots over the course of the last few weeks, but let's take a closer look at Legends Landing. Now, you can watch all the action unfold on the new Legends Landing, okay? Now, this is found in the Buy Epic Discovery Row. It is a fantastic place that you can get together with the rest of the community, embrace the finals. Obviously, this is the last day today where we're going to crown the champions. The Axe champions coming someone's way later on. This place, Legends Landing, is a place that you can watch it together with your pals, with your friends, with your family. A great opportunity to hang out and see our beautiful faces plastered all across the rooftops as well. It's great. Obviously, as well, Vivid and SBG, one cool thing as well is we must talk about FNCS outfits as well. Now, for you guys at home, may have seen some of the footage there as well of these outfits. Chapter 3 Season 1 champion outfits are available in the shop, okay? Now, you can add this to your locker. It'll be around for the rest of Chapter 3 Season 1 finals. Limited FNCS.
En vrai, le skin FNCS, il est pas très fun, mais voilà, il est stylé.
It is a great addition to Fortnite. One of those outfits that are only available during a limited time period, so do not miss out on adding it to your locker because it's a really, really cool way to celebrate this competition that is going on.
Yeah, it's looking fresh and, you know, maybe some little players.
Est-ce qu'il y a moyen de monter encore plus haut?
Yeah, I've worn my freshest leopard print shirt tonight, boys. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling fierce. Animalistic for this one. This is going to be great. Savage by name, savage by shirts, obviously. Let's talk a bit about the broadcast schedule as well, of course. What's been coming your way.
Non, je pense pas que j'en ai fait 4. Je pense que je sais pas plus. Si, il y a moyen que j'aille plus loin que lui. Qualifié, ouais. February, 18th, ouais. Semi-finale, finale, mars 21.
To the top teams have qualified too, and here we are. 50 duos remain in the competition for finals. March 5th and March 6th. We have obviously March 5th. Yesterday, day 1, and today, the last day. Day 2, March 6th of finals. NAE is going to be mighty exciting indeed. Now, Vivid, the format of this competition as well, it's been loads of fun to see unfold. Walk us through
Session 6, ouais.
Yeah, so
Day 1, Day 2, donc Day ça veut dire jour.
Here of the FNCS finals. We're going to take the points that the teams got on day number 2 and the points they get on day number 2, or day number 1 and day number 2, and add them up, and they're going to be on a cumulative leaderboard.
Donc les
That's how we decide our FNCS champions. And you know, we do have that match point format booming in the distance, but it is a hard one to reach as teams need 500 points and 3 victory royales to reach that. As we saw over in EU, we only saw around 320 points come out, so I don't think we're going to be hitting that today, but nonetheless, we will crown an FNCS champion.
Let's talk about how we're going to get that champion. Let's talk about the point structure. So 32 points for the victory royale. You first start receiving your placement points at 35th.
Ah ouais.
And they accumulate all the way up. And it's really those
Ah oui, 32 points quand même.
Points that are huge in order to be able to succeed. That's what we're seeing our top teams on the leaderboard. We're going to check that out in a second. Also, on top of the placement, you get 3 points per elimination, and we've seen a lot of teams racking up those Elim points as well already in day 1.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, the combination of the two there. You can get those placement points for those eliminations, 3 apiece, amazing. Let's
Ah oui, quand même.
well, of course, Active Champions
Ah oui.
but also the prize pool here
En Europe.
637,000.
Mais gros, ramène la maison. Mais ramène l'argent. Mais ramène l'argent. C'est en Europe, mais ramène l'argent. Ramène-les.
Go along with that nice axe of champions that they will gather. You see here the top 10, you break in that top 10, and the increment at which you increase your prize is just so much so. You know, we put a lot of focus on who was going to win this.
Ramène l'argent à la maison.
These teams that aren't necessarily in this top 10, they really should
Alors,
be fighting their hardest.
mes LED là, je vais les mettre en bleu clair.
The amount of money that they're going to win because
À la Fortnite.
as these placements go up, it just increases so much, SPG.
Yeah, there's so much to play for.
Bon,
Let's
ça
talk
marche.
about what happened yesterday and what our current standings look like. And we had some amazing plays. Obviously, Miro and Vuga were able to finish off the day in the top spot. 107 placement points, 27 elims. These guys were the perfect balance of placement plus elims. We saw them playing incredibly well. But also, we have Spade and Shit, who on the other hand, may have been a lesser known team coming into this, yet are right there with the big names of Miro and Vuga heading into day 2.
Yeah, looking at this stats here, sorry to jump in there, but looking at the kind of the points there, you can see how close the team, how congested it is in the top spots there as well. But even the eliminations, like it seems like it's a real kind of even playing field there. Like all the different teams in and around the top 8, for instance, especially, have got at least 20 eliminations, and it's so tight as well. It all comes down to placement points. It seems it's so pivotal.
Yeah, the top of that leaderboard is very, very close. And honestly, looking at the leaderboard,
allez, le bleu, mets-le moi. J'y avais y arrivé, mais
Miro and Vuga a lot. We saw individual performances out of Spade, but looking at that like top 6, honestly, the duo that I think is highlighted to me with like a formulated playstyle was Clicks and Day. I think those are the only ones that we saw success consistently.
Allez, si je suis arrivé.
As a duo, there's other teams that are in
Le
that
rouge.
top 5 up there. We also individual ones that were
Oh putain, on va devoir relancer la map.
They stomped out as a duo because whenever they found a refresh in that 7th or 6th zone, they just ran with it and found so much success off the back of it.
And no doubt. And we will likely see them do more of the same today. They used a lot more structure in these ends.
Ouais. Et il faut qu'ils ramènent l'argent à la maison. On en a besoin. Contre la Russie! Donc on va en lancer une. Let's go. En plus mon skin il fait la teuf. Bah, il fait bien l'affaire quoi. Fossai, left oh, life fossai, left oh, life fossai. Bele bele, abala bele bele, hey bele bele, ooh yeah, bele 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 bele, la bele bele. Ramène l'argent à la maison gros. Ramène l'argent à la maison. Ramène la maison. Ramène l'argent à la maison. Tu dois gagner. Premier arrivé, le dernier arrivé était pour mouiller. Say, ooh, yeah. Whenever see, when they say, whenever you say, ah, ça plante. Non, je m'en bats les couilles que moi là je coupe. Ils sont cons parce qu'on peut quand même passer par là.
I got the new computers for the Grand Royale, and look what happened. We made I think we made double what we made in the last FNCS.
Where do you rate yourself on the greatest of all time, the GOAT list?
I think right now, I probably put myself.
Donc là, la preuve que c'est bien plus rapide. Allez hop. Hop. Y'a quoi maintenant? Oh, casse-toi par contre, toi, parce que toi je tire la fête. Vas-y, mais casse-toi.
I don't think I had any nerves at World Cup. Like I literally had duos, and I can tell because we were so prepared and we had a game plan.
Oh mais cassez-vous les gars, sérieux. Vous êtes inintéressant à faire ça. Asseyez-vous. Voilà, comme le joueur de foot. Oh casse-toi toi le skin Bambi.
Well, duos is always like a part of the game, but when trios came out, I was like, oh no way, a year of trios, I hate it. Now we're on duos, I'm like,
comme ça là.
And so I always like squads, and I'm guessing if squads got announced for a year or however long, I would be like, I'd hate it, but then by the end of the year, I'd love it. So it's just like,
là, tu vois, là, là, on est carré. Là, on est carré. Parce que moi là je vois pas mon skin dépasser sur l'écran là. Bon lui si veut bien s'asseoir, tête de mule. Casse-toi mais
Love to hear from C-Step. Think about confidence as well. We talked about this yesterday. Obviously, confidence plays a hugely important factor across the competition. Obviously, in the second day now, we're getting very close to the finish line, fellas. So this is going to be a big factor, as I said. Let's talk about some of our duos in question as well. Obviously, we saw loads of in action yesterday, and we're going to see them again today, and can't wait to get things kicked off very shortly. Firstly, Jamper and Duty. Oh, guys, yesterday, first 3 games, Vivid, back-to-back third places in the first 3 games. That is A, very hard thing to do, and B, if they can replicate that today, they are in for a very, very decent ride indeed.
Yeah, Jamper and Duke definitely have to be happy about how they performed yesterday. You did highlight there that the first 3 games, they got 3rd place in every single one of those. And they got 7th, and they got a 40th and a 14th. So they were definitely coming out strong at the start of day number 1, but they did not end too well. But that's okay, because we do have a second day. So if they can start it just like they started day number 1, then they should be really good spot on the leaderboard.
And I think a lot of their success came from the early rotates, using the vehicles to get ahead of zones, and then picking those priority positions on top of hills, which allowed them to get that surge and then funnel all that down through the rest of the game. Didn't see that happen over the back half, so likely they need to go back to their roots like what they did in the first couple of games.
Yeah, another team as well, who, if we see the same thing as we did yesterday, it's going to be very,
ah oui,
very
ça dépasse sur l'écran, mais pas sur les personnages qui parlent.
Well. We saw that victory royale with 10 eliminations on one of the games. I think it was game 3. But, you know, another team that we already knew was going to deliver a lot of the goods in this competition. But yesterday, it felt like things were just going in the right direction with it.
Yeah, they were actually the only team actually on the NA East region to gather 2 victory royales, and they did it kind of in the same style. I mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Oui, mais bon.
Gotta pay attention to the elim feed when we are spectating these end games, because if clicks, finds, and elimination around that 6th zone, I can almost guarantee they were going to run with that, and there are a lot of action. And typically, they go for the higher ground. So if they get an elimination where they get that refresh, pay attention to the higher ground, because they love immediately going for it right after that elim.
Yeah, they get stacked up by those mats and then look to make a play, and it's a lot more structured than I've seen them play in previous games, at least so far this season. And that is dangerous. If these two are figuring out how exactly to play these lobbies, that is a massive problem for everybody else.
It is. Another team causing a lot of problems for everybody else as well. Spade and Chimp Vivid. We saw these guys under the radar to a degree yesterday, but we saw they just started towards the end, accelerating their way towards the top spots. And they're currently sat in 2nd.
Yeah, and honestly, no like really insane performance. Their best finish was actually a 3rd.
Non, toi pas, mais t'es un farmer, toi. Juge à toi, en vrai, mais t'es un farmer.
Those placements were like 14, 13, so always very close, and just gathering placement points in every single game.
La villa de l'effet de CS.
An insane individual performance out of Spade.
I
believe it was game number 5, so a lot going for them as they do find themselves at the top of the leaderboard coming in day number 2.
And what I've seen from them should be able to be repeated, because they were just playing shoulder to shoulder. We talked about a lot of solo clutches, but this team was just playing together so well, and outside of 1 or 2 games, it was a team effort allowing them to succeed.
Yes, indeed it was. I mean, obviously a lot of the teams as well, all the teams, wherever you land POI-wise as well, whether you're being kind of fought off spawn or not, plays a hugely important part in this competition. Let's take a closer look at a couple of particular POIs as well, because obviously that we're going to see some contestation undoubtedly. One place we're going to talk about is read all about it, the Daily Bugle. Okay, now this is a great opportunity, a lot of loot there as well with it, but it seems like it's a great place where we're going to see a lot of teams going head to head here, which could make or break the end game.
Yeah, and we see Bucky and Cam is going to be going up against Nico and Polarized now. After day number 1, I can tell you right now that there wasn't a head-to-head clash really ever between these 2 teams that are actually here. Typically, Bucky and Cam actually just looted up really quick, and they rotated out fast, and they actually immediately looked for a fight on the outskirts of the Bugle, either on like Crunchy and Pure, or there's the Walkers and Golden versus Spigo and Charlie thing going on a little bit to the east of them, so they kind of just gathered the loot out of the Daily Bugle and got out of there as quickly as possible. And honestly, we saw them on the higher ground for a couple of games yesterday, so it was kind of working out because they were getting into those end game situations.
Definitely. I would like to see Bucky and Cam do a little bit more. Like you mentioned, they were in those solid positions, and Nico and Polarized were fairly quiet. There wasn't those big clashes happening over the Bugle. Both these guys were just taking their loot, and they're like, all right, I'll see you in endgame. We'll fight later on.
Yeah, we saw obviously at the Bugle there's a
Déjà lui, on a fait 9.
as well. Obviously we've seen rotation-wise.
Bon, on s'en bat les couilles en
I
fait.
think it was Miro yesterday, but clutching up, rotating out from mountains underneath, using those web shooters so effectively there as well, so efficiently. I'm sure we're going to see plenty more of that today as well. Let's take a look as well at Tilted Towers. Of course, is a place that's come back into the map this year. A fan favorite to a degree here. Can get very congested very quickly, but again, another very exciting place to watch from the get-go.
Yeah, and honestly, Tilted Towers has kind of surprised me. You know, the Acorn and Kanata lane here, Illish and Jack, and then TK and Visuals, and none of those teams are really
Putain, c'est quoi ce skin Vénard
The amount
là?
of loot that is in Tilted Towers, I kind of expected it to be the other way around, especially the caliber of like Acorn and Kanata there, because they were getting that north side kind of uncontested, and I really just expect them to do so much better with the loot that you can get out of Tilted Towers.
Acorn Kanata, they're a day 2 team. They're sitting in 8th place. They're within striking distance. They got a shot. But overall in Tilted, I think it's more than these extended engagements. Like after these teams rotate out, they're just taking shots at each other, much less those early game, quick 50-50s that we've seen in some other POIs.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity as well for us to kind of, before the first game kicks off very shortly, to kind of chat a bit about what actually happened yesterday as well, and what we're kind of hoping we're going to see today, if you will as well. Vivid, yesterday, were you surprised by anything that you kind of saw, whether it be play style, whether it be the way kind of, utilizing the meta at all? Obviously, high ground's always been a big factor in the game, but we saw we had some low ground victories as well. It seemed that the mid ground was a really interesting place where a lot was happening, and kind of ultimately defined how each game was going to go about as well. What did you find out?
I think the biggest story to tell was honestly the solo clutches that we saw. I think that a lot of these teams at the top of the leaderboard, they're really up there because of the solo performances that happen in 1 or 2 of these games. You know that Vuga and Miro, both of them, they found themselves in solo situation yesterday, and they just capitalized on it so well. You know that Spade had a great solo clutch yesterday. That's why he is at the top of the leaderboard. And like I mentioned earlier, really the only duo that I've seen work every single game together so well in that end game and not really find themselves in a solo situation is actually Clix and Day, which is kind of the opposite of what we usually see out of them, right, SPG?
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see if that teamwork can continue, because they dropped a few 1, 2, 0-point games where they need to bring that up more and raise their floor, like Sundown said yesterday. The other team that I want to talk about is Shadow and OMG Me Too. They're landing in that bottom left corner. They have been con, but not really fighting, because there's that natural barrier between the windmills and then the other side. So the two have just been shooting at one another, not necessarily going one way or another, but that's given the Storm Surge for Shadow and OMG Me Too. And then I'm seeing them play aggressive. For a new team, they're consistently looking aggressive in these end games, and they're not shying away from anybody. They're looking for fights, getting these refreshes, and that's what has put them in a really strong place going into day 2.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many teams we could highlight here as well, lads. I mean, for me, Aegis and Rise comes to mind as well. Yesterday we saw a lot of times that they tried to play for high ground, try to dominate up top, but then suddenly realised, wait, we're running out of mats pretty fast here. Rather than kind of holding steady, let's come back, closer together. Let's reunite, because when you get separated from your teammate as well, it can make things very difficult, particularly when it gets so anarchic towards the end of each game. So great to see the kind of the communications there, the IGL working hard to kind of bring the team back together again. Obviously, getting them over the line because they're in contention now as well. So great to see that too. But obviously looking at today as well, we've got Booger and Miro sat at the top here. Obviously, you've had teams here, a team here that has obviously won multiple competitions, a World Cup winner, as well as FNCS current champions as well here. Obviously other teams will be looking at them thinking, how exactly are we going to take that first position there as well. Vivid, today, how do they go about doing that? Like, it's a very open question here, but overnight, obviously teams talking. What do you think today they're going to do? What happened reviewing those VODs last night that will change today for some of our teams?
I think if it's anything, we saw a lot of teams go for the high ground, and they just didn't have the resources necessary to continue that high ground domination like we saw Bucky and Cam. They can never really hold it, even though we found them up there a lot of times, but it's just, you got to manage your resources better coming into day number 2, because you do have the preparation that you found from day 1, and you can use that experience in day 2.
And the key piece is, the zones are longer, the distances are longer, the time is longer. So rather than what we saw last season, players have to extend these zones even more, and without getting refreshes, it's just not possible to hold from 5th zone all the way into the end of the game unless you have a Harpoon or the Spider-Man web shooters.
Good point. Good points, boys. Obviously, before we get into game one, which is right around the corner, okay, we've got, of course, got our predictions from this. We need to look at these again and see exactly how we're currently faring as well before going into this. We know you guys at home love this as well. And by all means, play along on us for socials. Myself here, Hugo and Mira, I got lucky. What can I say? I got very lucky. They're in first place right now. 188 points. It was a good day yesterday. But you know, can they hold out and continue that? Vivid, talk us through Stretch and Command.
Yeah, me and MDF are going to be hoping that Stretch Command to perform a little bit better today. They are sitting right now in 13th place with 113 points, so about 70 points down in first place, but a lot to play for today, and they got to improve on their play style.
And like I said, Acorn Kanata, they're a day 2 team. They're going to lock it in and finish up on top, at least I hope so, as well as Sundown sticking with his guys, Pamstu and Fatch. They're sitting in 16, also in striking distance.
J'arrive, j'ai pissé un coup, les gars.
Go on, Pamsto, in fact. I love the Sundown. Literally week on week has been championing these guys. It could happen. It's still going there in 16th right now. Anything's possible on FNCS Finals NAE. We know this time after time. Again and again, we've seen that happen. It is time for game one. We are going to be heading into the action right here. The final act is upon us. Let's head over to the almighty MDF and Sundown to jump into the action for us. Fellas, over to you. Let's do it, boys.
Thank you so much, Adam, Vivid, and SBG. And what's up, Fortnite fam? My name's Sundown, joined by Monster D-Face to call the final 6 matches here in NAEs. And Monster, as they broke it down, the top of the table is real tight.
Oh man, it's getting really, really close up there. You see what separates the competition is really coming down to placement points, who can make end games. And we all know day 2 is always the much more difficult day as teams start to assess what went wrong in the previous day. New strategies begin to come out. You just need to hope and pray it doesn't affect your performance and your strat, right? The route that you created coming out of day 1.
Yeah, you have to be able to buckle down because as we've seen, I feel like it's in duos in particular where teams will really hit the vase. They'll go back and say, hey, this spot of the map is open, or this team rotates really early. We can grab some of their loot, maybe ambush them afterward. And we've seen some really varying performances from day 1 to day 2 where teams have, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but strung together 3 or 4 games and really put themselves in contention. But right now, my eyes are on the top of that leaderboard because they're separated by a couple of elims here and there.
Yeah, definitely. It all comes down to this last game here, or this final set of games. Let's get ahead and jump on this battle bus, because it sounds like it's ready.
Game 7 of 12, 1 of 6 today, and welcome if you're just hopping aboard the battle bus. Well, we've had a lot of very interesting fights going down right off of the rip. Generally, Greasy has been where we started. I mean, we saw Rise and Agers as well as Nouns and Sprite going head-to-head. It was a 4-2 score there yesterday, but we'll hop on board and see what the analyst desk was talking about, Monster, here with that very quick loot in and out from Bucky and Cam, and well, we know there's a reason for it this time.
Yeah, definitely love this here. They found themselves a nice little llama there. Very worth jumping out, but here's that fight they wanted to see. Sprite and Nouns, you get a quick touchdown here as things are going to start breaking out, and it seems like it's another battle for the coolers inside main building. Nouns, unfortunately, only finding a sniper here, so Sprite and Nouns surely at a disadvantage right now. You have to assume so. Yep, Agers and Rise here pretty comfortable with shotguns in him.
Yeah, I mean, that auto shotgun, we've talked about how strong it can be, particularly early on when your opponents don't necessarily have that maximum amount of HP, and getting the slightly better drop and controlling the interior of that main house has given them just infinitely better loot so far, and you can see actually Sprite and Nouns don't have any shields.
This is the way you want to play this. They make quick do of getting their HP up, and now comes the full push on inside. Can you get them before they start to situate? That's a great tag there and a shield crack. It's going to be all the confidence that they're going to need to push this fight in. Sprite trying to play the pillar here, but it's a cheeky angle for Nounsy up top. He finds that one too, and just like that, they find themselves 6 points here, cleaning up Greasy Grove, now having the entire POI to themselves.
Yeah, and for those of you who are just joining us, did not follow those fights yesterday, the score now is 5-2. Agers and Rise have the advantage. However, you might think, why do they keep taking this fight? Well, whoever has won that fight has done exceptionally well in every single game. They've made it all the way through the end. They've been able to get off points, but they are both just ramming their heads into each other there. And it's been relatively close. 4-2 coming in today, 5-2 to start. We'll keep an eye on kind of how that ends up turning out. As we take a look at some of our other teams up the top and what's going on with them.
Pretty good right now. This is their draw spot. They have it completely to themselves. As we know, they tend to do just this, right? Max out their metal, and then they play for prime positioning to the top of the analyst table's point, though. It's about getting out quickly and playing for those big drops. They did well in the first 3 games. On over to the Covert Cavern, though. Seems like they have some action to kind of fill in this early game void. Mind you, these are teams that need to have exceptional day 2s right now if they want to stay in the
ouais, les bidons, ça devient rare.
Themselves some big prizing because there's a lot to fight for, right? We can see teams truly jump their way up into those additional prizings, especially if you can get inside the top 10.
Yeah, and don't forget, just because you're not at the top, we still have 6 games of Fortnite to be played. A lot can change, and there's still money on the line for those additional places. We saw the breakdown at the top. Their share of 637 and then 500. I don't know. It's some numbers in this. Right around $600,000. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. But to be honest, for most of these players, the thing they're more interested in, that Axe of Champions, man, they care about that clout instantly coming through. I mean, I saw the Asia winners less than, I believe, 5 minutes after they'd had that victory royale come through. Literally already had the post out in the social medias, as you say, Monster, with them holding the axe. So a nice little sunset in the background.
Yeah, gotta flex it out, man. Gotta show it off. That's what it's all about. The money's nice, but the legacy, right? The story that you build, becoming kind of engraved in that roster of FNCS champions is everything to these players, and that unique cosmetic, man, you can't hide it.
Yeah, and engraved also in Legends Landing. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, make sure you check it out in-game. It's a place where you can get the box fight-ins, you can earn the drops if you're just hanging out in there, watching in there. You can end up checking out the mannequins and the outfits that are in there, and as well as, you know, catching all the action. So we're going to catch the action. Knife for Violet, very interesting team. Currently, I would say the gatekeepers to the top 5, sitting in 5th right now. You can see on the top right-hand side, OMG, Me2, and Violet are the only players in the top 10 who are competing in their first NAE FNCS final. And so far, they've had a pretty good showing of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, being inside the top 5 coming out of a day 1 performance is absolutely phenomenal. All you have to do is continue to remain consistent, which their draw spot can provide just that. You know, I mean, talk about limiting any kind of factors that can, you know, alter your gameplay. Having a llama consistently is definitely the big play for Milks and Rhythm. They're trying to find themselves a nice little Storm Surge trade here. Running a few tags, okay, onto 20 in reciprocal. They're going to go and back off. Not enough for them to fully commit or anything, but these are very, you know, imperative and crucial tags to staying in the game for the long run.
Yeah, it looks like we're going pretty far south. One of the things on that northern part of the map, generally almost anywhere, if you're committing to the outside in that rotation, while there is a solid amount of loot there, especially if you kind of hop on the boats and chain some of those fishing spots together. The sight lines from the players who are on the interior are absurd. If they're able to get an MK7, they can always just basically do a quick 180, throw some shots your way, and you're constantly just having to eat in some of those materials you're farming to just even cover yourself. And you saw just how they were getting those shields constantly chipped out, but we're going to hop on over. 33 users. Man City threats, making sure they get the chonkers onto the Whiplash. A little bit extra mobility when moving around the map.
Yeah, for a second there, I was wondering where is his teammate, but he is just south of him. So they're starting to split up here. Stretch and Commandment have a long way to fight their way into the top 5 if they want to start pursuing that big, heavy placement position by the time this is all over. But being inside the top 13 is not bad by any means. I figure if you can break into that triple-digit mark, I mean, you've sort of done the hard part for day 1, right? It keeps you very much in the game. You just have to have a great day 2. And, I mean, they're on track so far. Take a look at the loadouts here. Very strongly positioned as well, right in between several teams that have to make a move on through. So, you know, they can take fights like this. Look for these exchanges and these trade shots.
Yeah, so if, in terms of the points, looking at the bottom left-hand corner, our current leaders coming into the match are sitting at 188. One thing to know, though, minus the 2 victory royales on clicks in day yesterday, a lot of our points are really spread out, and that's where they got majority of theirs. So what does that mean? A team who ends up winning normally is gaining right around 50 points. It's 32 for the win, give them 6 eliminations, times 3, that's another 18, so 50 points going in there. If you're able to kind of get that 50-point game, so say if Stretch and Commandment were able to get a W here, and then a couple of the top teams drop down, all of a sudden they go from 13 to right into that top 5, maybe top 7 conversation. And all of a sudden, Monster, if coming into this day number 2, you chain together 2 pretty solid games like we saw yesterday from Jamper and Dukes right off of the start, that adds up super quickly.
Very possible. Absolutely very possible. And, you know, the same thing goes in reverse for the top tier teams, right? Yes, you had a great you know, succession of games yesterday, but a few dropped rounds, and all of a sudden you are right down in the melting pot with everyone else trying to claw your way up and, you know, find yourself a breakaway position. So it can really go both ways. It's a double-edged sword the way these positions and these games play out. These next 6 are so important. No one's on track to end the tournament early. That's a fact. So we're going for all 6 here. It's going to be all or nothing.
Yeah, we did talk about that match point format a little bit yesterday and a little bit today, but just so y'all are aware, particularly based on the scores we've seen, we aren't going to see that here in NA East. And if you are, it's going to be less of a match point rule and more of a mercy rule, because somebody is just dominating so hard today that they really put the competition that far behind them. For reference, the going on, I believe, 4 times in a row FNCS champ down in Brazil, that final match is wrapping up right about now. They're going into that final match with like 489 or 497 points like that. They've won 5 of the 11 games already. So even if we go all the way through, it's going to be tough. Go ahead, Lester.
This is an important fight right here, though, for OMG. Me, right now, 4th place. And Shadow 1X, who are on the run here, getting chased down by a team that's probably looking for some big surge tags here. It's Cracked and Owl. Owl lining up the split here. Just like that, your tournament can end, so you do have to be very, very cautious, especially when you're sitting inside those 1-story high bases. That's what you saw right there out of OMG and Shadow. They were in a very low base, and you just had Owl all of a sudden sneaking up behind them, and they almost purged in, but Shadow was just a little bit more cautious and aware of his surroundings. He manages to find him out.
This zone reveal gets real awkward. You see in the right-hand corner, you're talking about them getting bogged down in this fight. They have a duo rotating right behind them. They have Owl and Cracked right in front of them as well, who have invested a solid amount of hard materials here. Granted, if they can get into Greasy, the refarm isn't awful, but I mean, OMG Me Too isn't covering his back end. Luckily for him, if you check the bottom right-hand corner, the duo I talked about actually just swung wide around the side, so making sure there's no one there. It looks like Owl and Crack are leaving a little bit early, but right now, Spade and Chimp, they're posted out right on top of a reboot van. It looks like they got eyes for something.
Yeah, they're looking at that weakest wall over there, waiting for the edit there, and it's a 3-2-1 situation. They get a couple big tags in there, and that's really all they were looking for, right? Not the elimination, it's all those extra free tags. Had some headshots snuck in there. That would have been probably the most ideal situation, but hey, you know what? They'll be extremely happy to have found all of those body tags here. And think about this, guys. This is our 2nd place team you're watching. Once again, the Masters at work here. Little plays like that are the difference maker for staying away from the surge, staying out of threat. And this is something that Jamper and Dukes have to do as well. So having them on screen right now is still equally important. Let's restart. Let's just replays. Let's take a look here. Reciprocal and 20, they were lighting up the feed, so it seems like this battle ended up engaging on. Oh, okay.
Some great shots from Reciprocal right there. That 150 close range, being able to get that. And that's just the advantage. We talked about it, how we see a lot of players similar to what Miro has right now in his inventory, rocking that SMG plus whatever rifle you come across. And actually seeing probably more of an edge towards a Ranger than we'd seen during the qualifiers, with players recognizing just how valuable not having that really abrupt damage fall off can be. With that being said, though, if you're not holding a shotgun in those wall-to-wall fights and the other player is, you're at a disadvantage straight up if they hit their shot. Like, they will have the ability to out-trade you with that striker pump into an SMG or an MK7 swap if you just straight stick to the SMG. The SMG might have outright higher damage, but they'll have the higher burst in that situation, which if you're not hitting all of your shots, then we can see, yeah, it's relatively easy if you're right on top of someone, but...
Je regarde cette game, les gars, puis on fait les games normales.
At this moment, you're hoping that you have an AR, which a lot of teams are not going to have one right now. So Surge is active. You saw what it popped there. It said 228 was the low damage number that teams are going to have to go ahead and fight, or the lowest team would have to fight their way out of. For Booga and Miro, they were just a bit above it, but now slipping behind it pretty quickly. So the distance here, the trace shots they were going for, not enough. So instead, they're going to start opting to hit the city here to see if they can find someone inside of Greasy.
For those of you who don't know, Storm Surge will do 25 damage every 5 seconds on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th zone if we're above a particular number of players. Now keep an eye on the top left-hand corner. Storm Surge will turn on in the 3rd zone until that number says 70. We're currently at 90. That means 10 duos could potentially be under pressure here in just 45 seconds. So expect a ton of action to go down. And right now we're tuning in with 2 of our teams who are right on either side of the border. We have Booga and Miro on the left-hand side who are currently underneath it. And actually just going to bounce right back up above, but might end up costing them a little bit. That cost them a decent amount of HP, but nice 3 points going over for them.
To be fair, that might just be enough here. That's a full elimination. You also get damage for the down body too. So for them, that couldn't have worked any better. It looked like it was a team that needed to get inside of here. So the actual play right now, so just kick it, right? They can yes, fight for the 3 points, but think about it. So much fighting is already occurring here. There's gonna attract, or they can attract other attention from players nearby.
I'm very curious because that elimination was onto Owl, who was the one who was gatekeeping Shadow and Me Too. So to me, that indicates Shadow and Me Too probably ended up swinging around that southern side and are now right next to Booga and Miro, which means our first and fourth place teams are right on top of each other. But right now we can see Charlie and Spego left-hand side. They are below. They're also in the zone, so they're going to start taking some damage. On the right-hand side, Knifer and Byla, who are currently in 5th place, are just now getting forced below Monster. They're going to have to go.
Yeah, they're going to have to get active here. 5 more players have to go down. There's a duo in front of them. Lucky for them, this is a fight that they can definitely take. Looks like he was attempting to set the floor. Oh, no, never mind. That was the spicy chug splash. So they're willing to commit here. That's the speed pickup and also to give them that quick HP here so they don't have to slow down. Looks for the enemy edit, but doesn't come through. Instead, it comes from the top there. This is a Spade and Chip. Big fight going down right now. 5th and 2nd place going toe-to-toe for Storm Surge. Knifer, one more tag away. Can Byla find one there? And no, unfortunately, he does not. Down goes Knifer. Byla should be next into the box and just gift it up to Chip and Spade. Served on a platter. And just like that, 6 points in a number 7.
And they fall directly to another team who's competing with them on the leaderboard. And honestly, I think if both the Elam credits ended up going over to Spade and Chip, that's going to put them just a couple points behind Booga and Miro. Didn't look like they picked up any additional Elams there, but they weren't under pressure. We're going to swing on over to Peterbot and Quanti, who, while 72 damage above that threshold, one duo is being hit. They are very center and stacked with a nice little group of duos who are there right now.
Yeah, big group of duos here. Have to be super cautious, but Crunchy and Pure on the other side. Right now, making a little rotate, 38 damage below. Looking for any opportunity to get in on a team. Now, he does have some heals, but this is that big problem pros start to face if you play a little too passive. Everyone's already based up. It's going to be really difficult for you to find anyone, and that's the single player between Crunchy and Pure here who are below the surge. 5 damage below. All it's going to take is a little tag, and they'll suddenly exchange hands to someone else. There's a vehicle here. This could be the moment to keep him in the game, but no tag found from Crunchy.
Trying to keep an eye on Pure, see if that number does end up going up. Now, this might be a circumstance where it's worth having one of your players go down because nobody else has to move. But as I say that, they're going to just barely get themselves above. It will shift over, and you're going to hope that that shift is enough pressure that that other duo isn't ready for it, and that somebody ends up going down in this exchange. Because if it goes back over to him, Monster, they burn every piece of utility. And while the shields will keep you in the game, every second you're popping a shield is a second you aren't throwing bullets towards somebody else. And if you're not actually throwing shots out, you're not getting damage, which won't put you above the threshold. You're just delaying the inevitable and hoping that somebody else will impact the game. And luckily for them, it looks like Batch is going to do just that as Nico gets confirmed, but might have not actually. Nope, we'll see that number end up going through. Storm Surge turns off. We're now down to 6 to 7 players as Threats finds a pair in Joji and Roku.
Also, Nico falls there. You can see at the full confirmation elimination. Polarize found by Pantsu. So the big trade there. Mind you, Pantsu is fighting his way up to the top 10 here. You can see boys in the distance there. It's Pantsu, in fact, right underneath. Spade and Chip have eyes on the team up above. If Pantsu, in fact, catch wind of this target, they could probably look to bring them down there.
Yeah, and Spade and Chimp have a great angle to start laying shots, but they're actually going to switch their targets in. I think it makes sense to put a little bit more pressure on the team underneath. You can kind of get the team above saying, hey, you guys see what's going on here? You can get a part of this. And if you're able to make a team defend from 2 different angles, from above and from the side, that's how you start having shots end up weaving in. Keep an eye on the top left-hand corner as AMT gets a knock. On Sapir, we talked about just how utter shambles that team was due to the Storm Surge coming through. So good job by AMT to kind of take advantage of that and recognize the situation. But it's a pretty good job for them to be able to hold on to where they were, as we'll get a replay of some of the teams following during the Storm Surge being able to put themselves above. What brilliant shots from Peterbot to just rescue his team there. Then they pushed the situation too.
Look at that big knock in the distance, and that is the Ranger in play, and the full push. That is the kind of aggression you love to see, but also just the difference in having that other type of rifle with heavy damage down range. You don't really get to see it very often, so that was a rare pickup right there. For Dukes and Jamper, seems like Surge was an issue for them in the previous one. Now out of heals for Jamper, no whites to work off of, just shields here, and you can tell that they are fighting it out for the big tags here. 12 more players are gonna have to go down before the 40-second mark, otherwise things are gonna get super active. For Pamson Fatch, it's not a problem though. They just picked up a fresh 2-pack. Let's see how it all folds.
Yeah, keeping an eye on the French-Canadian pair, pushing down in here, getting the shots in, and honestly, that was pretty impressive there. You can tell MIH Moo a little bit frustrated, but really good job from them being able to kind of get all that excess loot. And the benefit here, Monster, actually, we're going to pause for a second, as they're below Surge. You see that 40 below on that side, and Cracked and Hour are also below. That's on the right-hand part of your screen, so the duos are going to need to get active. They got 10 seconds till it starts going, so despite having 4 eliminations, yes, they are just barely able to get themselves back above.
Look at this, Crack. Once again, getting pushed in here. You saw him struggle on the rotate on in, use this Mythic Web Slinger to get to this position, all of a sudden lost his shield, and now having to fend for himself to defend back. 2v1 situation, but Hawk Zone to stay in the game.
Qui va gagner cette FNCS? Face au match, face au game.
Right here, because the Surge is active. Quick has to clutch up right now. It's all or nothing here. Here comes the Surge being thrown in, so does the lobby. Cracked ready for the right-hand peek, and just like that, Clicks and Day get taken out here. Right behind them is OMG and Shadow. They were also part of that fight there, a factor in the pressure behind Clicks and Day. The story, the plot thickens just a little bit as big teams start to clash here.
Yeah, the plot thickens, but if you're Clicks, the plot really sickens there. That's a tough situation where they were pinned down. They felt like they're doing okay. They're fighting hip to hip, but Cracked had no decision. He had to go, and his aggression actually forced Storm Surge back down onto them. So getting the knock on today, then plus having the Surge comes through, just a little bit too much pressure for Clicks, while finding an angle to be able to get the shot. Good defensive play from Cracked. Good rotation from OMG, Me2, and Shadow to get in front of the zone and then be able to about face. They're going to have an opportunity to range some shots down, because if you keep an eye on the bottom right hand corner, there's still a decent number of teams who need to rotate.
Yeah, right now, Shadow and OMG, one of the few teams inside the top 5 still standing right now, as other teams are beginning to pretty much get broken down there. Here's Booga, here's Miro, still alive right now. Users as a solo, sitting up above. Miro, Booga start to look up right now, trying to see if they can find the floorboard to bring them down. Yes, they do single out Users' floor right there, but no, catch. They threw the rod out. Nothing came back.
Needed better bait in that situation, Monster. Didn't put a big enough worm on the line there, but we see Pam
Ah oui, ok, d'accord. Tout ça dans toute une petite zone.
You can see they're cool. There's plenty stocked full. They'll be tossing those on the ground, hoping to keeping it rolling right now as we're going to swing on over. Second place team still up on their feet right now, which they were our leaders coming in. We saw Chimp actually pick up another elim. It looks like they've just barely edged out the lead right now. Chimp himself doing it with 3 elims, Monster. They're 2 points clear of that.
Another thing to mention, Eonzo and DJ finally making an endgame after their strong start. Bad fizzle out, so this is that day 2 performance we're looking out for. Those are the teams that have that opportunity to come back. This is what makes FNCS Final 2-day format so exciting here. You never really know who's going to continue to keep themselves.
Oula, plus que 2 PV, plus que 2 PV. Il risque de mourir, plus que 2 PV. Allez les KO. Au revoir et merci. Toi aussi t'es KO. Allez, il va mourir.
Just a few damage above here. Is there enough in the magazine to get the Elim? Doesn't look like it. Back to the storm he goes. A little bit of a misplay there, and he gets ticked out on high ground now. It's a huge battle in the mid ground. Miro and Booga still holding on, looking very, very good here.
And we're into the cascading placement points as well. So
wow, c'est abusé.
Up on the high ground, we have Peterbot. Quanti trying to get a little bit ahead to provide the connection. We'll see the swing from Peterbot to go for it. That's on the left side of the screen. On the right side of the screen, we have Miro and Booga in your top right, Dukes and Jamper in your bottom right. You already saw just how delicate the balance is up at the top. Chimp and Spades were able to take it away, but just the placement points going back over to Booga and Miro will put them into first place. Still keeping eyes at the zone. Will pull back, actually going over towards the old bills. Is going to pull a little bit out from the space as everyone's looking for a little bit of room right now to operate. We still see Pamcel and Fatch up on that mid target as well, trying to find a little bit of room. As in the top right hand corner, we're going to zoom on in. And Miro right on the back, 20 attacks, and that's when he gets taken down. But Miro needs to find that siphon, he needs the HP back. He's going to be able to get it. He needs to pop some of these things. Plenty of excess shield, but what he needs is time, and the iron wall will buy him that.
You're watching that master play right there. Beautiful job there, noticing, still putting down the cone so he doesn't get caught out there. Shadow 1X tries his best to fend off there and get a trade, but he could not find the tag there. This is a 0 elimination game for him, something we have not seen in any of his day one performances. They were really leading the pack with the rest of the top 3 up there with eliminations. This time around, though, things just don't start to fall in the way he was expecting. What's happening up top? It's Quante and Peterbot, and all of a sudden Peterbot slammed from behind. Kanata and Agers start to swing their way on up, and yes, they have control of height now.
Kanata hit him with just the dink of a century. That was a heavy shotgun shot right to the teeth. You heard the sound effect come through, and it's brilliant. It shows you just how good and precise that weapon can be. But Quante
Allez, bye-bye.
trying to make the plays, and instead he gets popped like a pinata there. Great
La
shot
game va
picking
se
him up on the
terminer.
other side by Dukes. He's going to be able to pick up the points, but what we've seen so far from OMG Me2 in Shadow, whether it's in the qualifiers or yesterday, has been these ridiculous individual efforts, and he's getting himself just outside the top 10. Maybe a little bit of a caster's curse there as he goes down to 11th. We're going to swing on over, though, to the World Cup champ and the FNCS owner here in NA East. Miro himself trying to run through, trying to push that point total up as they're up to 215 on the back of 3 limbs and another top 10 performance. But hey, Dukes is cooking as well, and so is Pamps down the feed.
And we're seeing a lot of individuals fall, but that placement count not really come through, so there's solos in play here. Yanto taking out Trashy goes down, Stretch in another endgame, and somehow Stretch and Commandment make their way into the top 10, throw them in that conversation, fighting their way up. Dukes, though, holding on to a dear threat. 5 eliminations is what separates him from Booga and Miro here, as they manage to just edge themselves up. But here, the placement points are going to be the difference now. 5 elims as well for Stretch and Commandment, who own the ultimate low. Got a soul insight, wants to come down to the crypt to mess with the boys down here, but material is gone. Oh no, the river's in play. This is going to become more and more difficult now.
Yeah, you can't drop the ultimate low because it will drag you out of that zone. And I mean, we've seen what Sentinel ends up doing when he's down in that area. He's so good at fighting just around that area. Excuse me, Stretch and Commandment. Apologize, but on the opposite side, we see Batchy Fish ends up getting his run ended. But Pamso says, "Hello, what's that?" No, it's Acorn.
40 PV.
Taking advantage of it. He's going to take it down. There's still him and Kanata running through as Booga finds a little bit of space, but no more builds. And we have just a 2v2 v2 to close it out, and it's all veterans, Monster.
Kanata and Acorn still alive right now. Booga mixed up down
Oh
low.
ouais, chaud le bail.
Few solos
Mais
in
lui,
the
il
game here
triche.
as Miro's completely knocked. Unretrievable. Scented is here with the side angle alongside Cold.
Oh le kick blocage. Oh le blocage. 12 PV, il est mort.
They close him out, and a huge shot. Cold with him to go head to head there, and all of a sudden,
Ouais, c'est chaud.
eliminations for Cold and company. Kanata and Agers, though, trying to close this one out here alongside Acorn. Acorn and Kanata, beautiful job right there. It's just a 2v2, a clean 2v2. Not only that, they have the max in the hold here on the edge of the wall. But wait a second, Kanata just gets ripped up. Luckily, Acorn with the better angles closes out strong.
And a good job making sure that they had Kanata lower to be able to pressure, but Acorn still securing the victory royale up on the high ground. They will take game number 1 here on day 2 of the Chapter 3 Season 1 FNCS in NA East. And Monster, I mean, there were a lot of elims going down, but I think we're going to see a little bit of separation from our top 2.
Il était beau le top 1.
Really going to push themselves back into the conversation.
Il était beau le top 1.
Definitely. I mean, these
Pas
are
vrai?
back stories right now for Acorn and Kanata. Look at this. They jump up into 5th place. We saw Stretch and Commandment there jump their way on up. Sensen and Cold do the same exact
Attends, laisse-moi
thing.
remettre bien
And that
droit.
was the terrain coming into play
Mon
when we saw
siège,
that
je veux
mountain.
remettre
All
bien
of a
droit.
sudden made for the sandwich down low and the colliding of all those players, and just like that, things ended really quickly. We had a full zone of pull in front of us, but the time wasn't there.
Yeah, we went from like real quick. I was looking and it was like, oh, 8 players, 4 duos, 2v2v2. Then I looked back and it was a 5v3 real quick, and that was all she wrote. But to break down what we might have missed and what happened to the leaderboard, we're going to send it back on over to Adam, Vivid, and SVG. Gentlemen.
Yes, great game to start things off here in day 2. We saw so many vets in the end game. Some in duos, some solos, but my oh my, it was unbelievable. I think what we all love to see as well. Acorn and Kanata.
I sit back at house here while the broadcast is going live with the casters there. We were going to say, hello Kanata going high ground. What? We got quite excited. And ending up with 8
Eliminations and a victory royale. That was short.
Wow. Attends, je vais remettre les dents rouges. Allez. Voilà. you. Moi avec, avec, moi avec, avec. Waouh. J'ai demandé hein. Oh et oh, je te permets pas. Les fossailles, les faux, les fossailles, les faux, les fossailles. Non, vas-y, remets-moi. What? Qu'est-ce que je fais dans la FNC? En plus, ça tire. Mais non, ça tire. Waouh, on a votre fiesta. Voilà le mode normal. Ah mais non, mais c'est pas le mode normal. Ouah, y a un délire. C'est bon. Pas bouger. Hein. Putain. Avec moi, avec, avec moi, ouais. Rocket versus car. Oh, vas-y, on va mettre ça. Les fossailles, les faux, les faux, les fossailles. C'est quoi le W? Ah, ouais, c'est blanc. On va laisser en rouge. Ah oui, ils ont l'air chaud. Ouais, non, on va quand même mettre un mode. Tu vois, ça c'est stylé. Putain, c'est quand même stylé, hein. Putain. Ok, versus car. Oh putain. J'ai une sombre merde en fait. Vas-y, il est bien ce mode, il est bien ce mode. Allez hop. Attends, j'ai une... Oh. Ah non. Attends, j'ai une idée. Oh putain! On est grave dans le style là. On est grave dans le style, mon ref. Waouh, mais c'est abusé! Les LED! Mais waouh! C'est abusé le truc. Oh, ah, ta gueule. Voilà. Ta-na-na. Oh! Je m'en fous s'ils m'ont expulsé, j'ai su rejoindre à temps. Non, 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 c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon. Oh le con. Ah, ils sont peut-être en chat du jeu. Allô? Ah.
Ouais.
Mike est pas là?
Si Mike est là, ah ouais Mike.
Ouais. Je suis là. Bah là. Oh putain.
Pourquoi tu me réponds pas toi d'ailleurs?
Je crois que ça fait.
Mais je sais pas, invite-moi au moins. Ah ouais, par contre ton micro en vrai on t'entend mieux avec cette PS qu'avec l'autre.
Ouais.
En vrai GG.
Bah ouais.
Ah toi shoot.
Ça va,
Cheater. Cheater.
c'est toi le cheater.
Bon bah je vais vous laisser alors les gars.
Ouais.
Salut. Il en faut peu pour être heureux. Il en faut peu pour être heureux. Il en faut peu pour être heureux. Les Fortnite, les Fortnite. Bah non, il y a bientôt la boutique. Non les gars, ça sert à rien. Les Fortnite, les Fortnite. Je sais
pas ce que c'est que de pas avoir une mère, ouais. La dernière fois, j'étais mort. Quand on t'a demandé de faire ce choix. Go. Parce que je la vois. Quand est-ce qu'on arrive? On arrivera quand on arrivera. Oh, je vais dégueuler, putain. Non, c'est tout de même fou tout ce qu'on peut avoir avec Airbnb. On dit Airbnb, tête de poutre, c'est du pareil au même. Quand est-ce qu'on arrive? Bientôt. Oh, le joli moulin. Ça, c'est une antenne électrique. Effectivement. Oui. Si tu décopies dans ma voiture, je te déshérite. On mange à McDonald's? Non. À bâbord, la mer. C'est une rivière, Kono. Oui, bon, c'est de l'eau, quoi. J'ai envie de faire pipi. Si tu me doubles par la droite, je vais te mettre une double droite, moi. McDo. Non. Salut Salut Alexandra. Eh bien oui, on est bien en Pologne. Là où c'est dans cette maison qu'une famille a mystérieusement disparu. Oh non, vas-y. En bas. Donne la balle. Ferme ta gueule. Ferme ta gueule, toi chou. Marco Verratti. Oh, bien vu ça. Raoul Jiménez. Va nous faire tourner la oh, qu'est-ce que c'est capable.
En fait, depuis tout à l'heure, il y a un truc que tu vois pas. Ça suit.
Ah, c'est là où je regarde, c'est trop marrant.
Ça suit ton œil. Tu l'as pas remarqué?
Bien ou quoi la famille? Les gars, on est à un événement caritatif et je crois que j'ai fait une bêtise, il y a un mec qui...
Ok TikTok. Aujourd'hui on ne se retrouve pas forcément pour une vidéo amusante. Malgré nos soins et nos efforts, et malgré son courage et sa détermination, malheureusement Elpi n'a pas réussi à gagner son combat. Ça faisait plusieurs jours qu'on ne voyait plus d'amélioration dans son état. Elle ne se nourrissait plus et recommençait à maigrir de jour en jour. Le rendez-vous chez le vétérinaire est malheureusement arrivé trop tard. Nous sommes si fiers d'elle, de son combat, de sa force. Et je sais que vous êtes aussi parce que vous lui avez partagé beaucoup de courage. Merci pour elle. Ok TikTok.
Moi, hein, parce que j'ai une quête que je peux pas la faire.
Ah mais attends, c'est simple, j'ai bloqué...
Le bail long. Donc c'est bien à 1h du matin. Bah putain. Et dire que je croyais que...
Il était temps que tu charges ton téléphone, connard.
Mais vous avez vu comment il me victime? Life for say, life for say, we live and say. Lance ta putain de fucking de... Game. Many say, En fait, à chaque fois, je spawn au clocher, il n'y a jamais de coffre. Ah si, j'ai rien dit. Si, en fait, il y a des coffres. C'est juste qu'il y a des fois, ça me porte la poisse, il y a des fois, non. Bon, s'il vous plaît, je veux pas de ping, merci. Hein. quand même d'avance. S'ils me font bien, c'est de gentillesse, j'espère. Ah ouais, tu spams comme ça, toi. Mais t'es un héros des puta, toi, en fait. Espèce de sale fils de pute, va. Sans tête. Putain, il spam comme ça, le gars, il s'est cru où, lui? Il s'est cru à la farfouille? En vrai, il y a toujours des lettres là, je sais pas pourquoi. Eh bah putain, vraiment de la chance, moi. Non mais vas-y, mais vas-y, mais vas-y. Mais j'en ai marre. c'est intéressant de faire ça, va. Gamin. Regarde, bah tiens. Quelle trouvaille. Tout, 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 tout. Oh bah tiens, quelle trouvaille. Oh bah dis donc, quelle trouvaille. Vas-y, viens, je t'attends maintenant. Paysan mort. Ah bah il est mort. Ah bah moi aussi. Allez, au revoir et merci. Allez, 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 je croyais en moi. Ouh, l'enculé. Mais c'est un enculé! T'as que ça à faire de ta vie, va! Paysan, t'es mort! Bah, fais pas le malin, toi, par contre, parce que tâche si te baisse ta mère. Ça a rien de rager. Ça a rien. Baisse, t'es mort, toi. Fais bien attention à ce que tu fais.
Savoir une chose. Jusqu'où peux-tu voir avec ton Sharingan? C'est la façon dont tu vas finir. En ce cas, fais-en donc une réalité.
Ta gueule. Putain, il faut que je m'améliore avec le shoot du pompe à... truc. Pompe lourd. Hop, la carte. Ah bah fait chier. Ah bah ça me saoule, bah ouais. Olé tout le monde. J'ai besoin. Ah ouais, lui il est la villa de carrément. Il a la villa bizarre là. Ce que j'ai vu à la FNCS. Je crois que c'est celle-là. Ah, je crois bien, ouais. Je crois que c'est celle-là. Je sens les pings arriver d'ici. Je vous jure. Oula, oui, je sens arriver d'ici les pings. Tête de homme. Je sens arriver aussi la mort. Pas des couilles. Oh là là. Oh bah oui, désolé. J'y reviendrai plus. Ah, je l'ai vu. Ah, ben c'était mort. Est-ce que ça va me la prendre? Eh ben non. Eh ben tant pis. Ah là 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 là. Ouais. Ouah le con. Bon allez hop, on se l'enfile par le petit cul. Non, j'en peux plus. C'est quoi que j'ai pas vu encore ça. Oh, il y en a un autre qui se ramène. Non, bah non, arrêtez de faire vos ramasse-miettes, hein, bande de petites putes, va. Ouais, c'est facile de faire la ramasse-miettes comme ça, va. Bande de petites putes. Bon, j'arrive. Pisse. T'as pas vu comment il joue, quoi, frère? Oh, life or sigh. Oh, life or sigh. We'll live inside. We'll live inside. Ooh, yeah. We'll live inside. Plus fort, plus fort. Ah. Oh yeah, pulki out. Oh mais casse-toi le bot. Oh mais quand bot tu casses les couilles. Ouais bah t'attendras en fait hein. T'attendras que je sois en sécurité. Pas le temps. Tête de bite. Vas-y, t'aurais pas dû, Viens. Allez, hop. Tu vas me rembourser, toi. Tête de homme que tu vas me rembourser. T'as même pas eu assez, va, sale pauvre. Dites-moi s'il y aurait des gens qui voudraient faire l'événement avec moi. Comme ça on peut le faire à deux et tout. Oh non, d'un zizi. Il n'y a même pas de Uzi légendaire, tu vois. Moi je me disais il y aurait eu un Uzi légendaire, je me le serais pris, mais là. Donc il est dans ces environs là. Non, ne me dis pas qu'ils ont ce buisson là quand même. Mais wesh frère. Où est-ce qu'il s'est planqué? Là-dedans? Peut-être, peut-être pas. Ouais, il se planque hein. Et il se planque bien ce bâtard. Ouais, il repart par là. Dites-moi si vous le voyez. Enfin oui, non, c'est vrai. Mais dites-moi dans les commentaires si vous l'avez vu, parce que moi, je vois R. Hein. Il y a Z. Hein. Je sais pas pourquoi j'ai dit Z en fait. Je pense que c'est lui. Ouais, je crois que c'est lui. Oh, un toi dégage, je commence à me saouler. Ah ouais, je vais échapper à la zone. Oh non, le zizi. Oh putain, il avait raison ce con. Il avait complètement raison de se barrer ce con. Mais lui va voir, il va subir. Et c'est pas pour 3 PV que je vais te chouler, hein, ou 2. 2, ouais 2. Si j'avais mal regardé les gars. Putain, ils me l'ont tué ces bâtards. Regarde, moi aussi je spam. T'as vu? T'as vu ce que ça fait de spam? Est-ce que t'as vu ce que ça fait de spam? Voilà, maintenant tu sais ce que ça fait, va. Sale bâtard. Espèce de sale fils de chien, là. Je suis un bonhomme, moi, tu me connais pas, frère. En espérant que je vais pas me suicider comme Spider-Man, le roi des connards. Ah bah tu sais quoi, je te le laisse. Ah ouais, je te le laisse là. Ah ouais, non, là t'as vu, je te le laisse. Pour être gentil. Mais moi je suis un sacré connard. Ok, ça va pas me plaire du tout. Ok. Bon, ça veut totalement dire que je vais clamser si je continue à faire ça. Donc on va faire Spider-Man. Et on va faire glou glou. Vas-y, 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 vas-y. Vas-y, je l'entends moi ta grande gueule. Voilà, voilà, voilà. Ouais. J'avais bien réfléchi moi là. Et puis là, hop là, Sharingan. Sharingan, frère. Ouais, bah oui, j'y peux rien, moi. Hein. J'y peux rien si t'es furieux et que tu fais toujours pas te peindre depuis un an. Ouais, mais c'est abusé. T'as vu comment tu spams, toi? Toi, le lâche. Ouais, mais ça spam de tous les côtés, mais ça spam de tous les côtés. Allez, oui, allez, ta gueule. Là-bas, il y a l'autre handicapé. Bah oui, bah comme par hasard. J'y crois même tout... Totalement pas. C'est quoi? Allez, moi je m'en bats les couilles, hein. Moi j'ai déjà fait le sapin. Je sortirai pas, mais... Je sais qui fait semblant de partir. Attends, je vais danser. Les faux, oh, les faux, ça, les faux, oh, les faux, ça, les faux, oh, les faux, ça. Oui, les nez, des bonnes, ça, oui. T'as vu, il se ramène. T'as vu? T'as vu? J'avais prédit. Oh, il aurait pu facilement me tuer, ce con. Regarde, là, j'ai dû vouloir casser. Et il sera là, tu vas voir. Ah, c'est long, hein. Mais c'était sûr, mais regarde. Allez, vas-y, il est quelle heure? 1h46. On va voir si elle a changé, hein. Ah, ça commence à me faire mal aux yeux. Ah, vas-y, dans 12 minutes, c'est pas la peine. Oh non, cette pioche là, slam dunk. Lui, il a pas joué dans Wolverine. Celui avec la carte, là, les cartes. Lui, là, il me semble qu'il a joué dans Wolverine, hein, Gambi. Ou quoique, non, je suis pas sûr. 13 minutes, ça vaut pas la peine de relancer une game. Est-ce que la FNCS, elle est encore ouverte? Non, ça n'a pas l'air d'être... Ah si. Bon, là, on va remettre ça en mode... Mais un mode calme. Non, pour ça. Ouais, genre ça va. Et je suis bien en chat de la partie, hein. Bah non. Je m'en bats les couilles d'aller en chat du jeu. Attends, je crois qu'on peut se fight.
That is why they're sitting pretty in first position right now. But it is time for the next game, game 10 of 12 here on NAE on finals day 2. We'll head back into the action with Sundown and MDF. I know we're waiting eagerly here because it's all play for. There's just a few games left. Over to you, fans.
Thank you so
Même
much,
game que
Adam,
tantôt.
Vivid, and SBG. We're into the back half of the games on the day. Monster 3 more. The AXA champions will go out. The top prize will be given. And then we got NA West after this, and the FNCS will be all wrapped up. But do you think anybody can catch Booger and Miro?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough if they don't fall early, which is very unlikely. They've managed to really find themselves a great route. They get the tax that they're looking for by other teams, kind of landing in their general area and poising up next to them. Their Chonkers vehicles allow them to rotate in the mid and early games. So honestly, they just have such a great strategy that the zones, it doesn't matter where it goes, they've managed to play very well. But leaning into this next game now, we get to see how it unfolds. So let's get on this battle bus.
Final. Oh, je la regarde.
Game number 10. 3 more to go here in the East. And who else is atop the throne right now playing King of the Hill other than the solo World Cup champ, the icon himself, Booga, with the FNCS. I mean, I called him the owner, the demon, the one who's just run through and just destroyed most recent times his partner TNA Miro. But
okay, regardons la
where else do
game.
we kick it off but over to Greasy Grove, where the score is now 5-4, so closing it on equal.
Yeah, well, yesterday this battle meant so much for Rising Angels to stay inside the top 5. All of a sudden now being on a 3-losing streak here off the drop has made it super rough for them to continue to stay competitive inside the standings. But mind you, they're still inside the top 15. This is all going to come down to whether or not Rise can clutch, but no, it's not going to be enough. Down they go. Sprite and Naized have really just figured them out, it seems, at this drop, being a little bit better.
On remet le mode de
Sharper here
tantôt.
with the drops, and it's unfortunate, but that is how quick you can slide behind.
Yeah, now it's 5-5 going up. And what the general contest ends up looking like, if you want to go and VOD review this, what Aegis and Rise look to do is they look to hit the floor drops and then immediately group in that corner, break the floor and break the 2 coolers, hoping that they end up both pulling double chug splash and immediately chug splash and chug. The problem with that is that on the opposite side, if Naized and Sprite get high rate of fire weapons and they break the 2 walls opposite there, you now have to defend from 2 different angles without ever having farmed any materials. And unfortunately, they're starting to lose that fight as we swing over to the other contested fight that we've seen repeatedly here, and that's Walkers and Golden against Spego and Charlie. And Golden trying to put a little bit of pressure here with Walkers already taken down, so 1v2 with the Siphon coming out. It's going to still have the effective HP advantage. What a shot!
There's the heavy. There's the heavy coming into play. Body shot, little 59 tag to the calf there. You can't escape the damage of the heavy, especially when you're aiming down sight like that. Beautifully done. Mind you, it's an extremely small crosshair, so you have to be deadly accurate with it.
J'espère qu'il y a encore l'Européen.
Like I said, impressive for them to be besting this team here on the drop. It's keeping them at least well within some points away from having a donut of a competition. So all in all, for their first FNCS finals, I'm sure there's a lot to learn from today, a lot to take home from here. Same for Princess Wolf and AMT, doing a little bit better, up in 32nd place right now, chasing down Vert, our team who was just in that end game last game, fighting for that victory royale there. All in all, looks like this is a full-on push here. Side angle and everything.
Sliding down the hill, trying to get the best angle, just ripping shots over, but the timber comes straight down and nobody gave them a heads up. That's Redux from the side, and that's some valuable storm surge damage a la the tree. And don't forget that will end up going down, it will break builds, but somebody whose engines have looked like they've stalled a little bit here on day 2, trying to get going, trying to make something happen. Me2 and Shadow getting hip to hip. It looks like Me2 will actually get a much needed siphon there onto Fabled Taco, so that's going to end up coming out. Shadow needs to be careful here with only 2 HP, but Jackson trying to get pressure down.
I'm
not even sure how that happened for a second there. The knock and finish
oh putain, j'ai cru que c'était un de ses adversaires, mais non.
Something like that, because for a brief moment there, Fabled Taco was right next to Jackson and then just vanished. So here comes a disengage.
Oula,
he's off, he's gone. Those mythic web slingers allowing you to really open up space pretty quickly there. Jackson's now on the bottom coastal area, but OMG Me2 just knows. Track them all the way around the outskirts. They actually needed these eliminations. This is a different switch up in the strategy here, being a bit more aggressive to these coastal teams. Jackson and Fabled Taco, though, no strangers to being contested on the drop. That's how it was for the qualifier round. In the replay, though, we get to see how things unfolded with Vert. He managed to turn this whole fight around here and find the 2 eliminations. Nicely done there.
Vas-y, hein, repose-toi. Moi, tantôt, j'ai pas école. Repose-toi bien, dors bien, et voilà.
Saw Eamzo and Degen get picked up by Nosh and Paper outside the covert by that llama split. So, fortunately for them, still trying to get something going here on day number 2 after that amazing start in the Game 1 victory yesterday. And on board here with Spark and Nets, trying to get a little bit of pressure. Pincer movement on the Sanctuary, but we've seen not necessarily as much success in these pincers. It's largely been teams who've been playing hip to hip, and when you've been too far spread, you generally leave yourself vulnerable.
Je sais pas si vous en souvenez, mais j'avais déjà un peu regardé au match tantôt avec vous. Sur ce live, hein.
Nice little angle here as well. They have this high ground control here. Taking it nice and slow though, not looking to overcommit. This is something that you see really pretty much often from competitors. And of course, a team that plays too defensively, normally you'll see a disengage as well. Get your couple tags, you stay content with the situation, but the clock is always ticking in Fortnite. That's one thing you cannot stop is pop a time. So they're going to go ahead and have to fight their way back to material count that is going to allow them to have a successful mid and end game. Good early game disengage for Booga and Miro though. They're just on time as usual with their early game. They stay here until they are fully looted and comfortable and then go for surge and battle and positioning. No change up basically from their strategy from what we've seen so far in the competition, but no need to. They've been successful every single game.
Yeah, making sure they pass by these coolers as well. We ran a little bit of a content piece at the start of the season about what's changed on the Chapter 3 map, and I think the coolers, one of the biggest additions, if you're not aware of them, they hold guaranteed amount of consumables, and the ones that these players care the most about are those chug splashes. That's often why you'll see duos rocking out with almost like full 12 set of chug splashes in nearly every single one of their loadouts that very much prioritize that. This can be shields as well as HP, and it's AoE. But now, kind of taking a look, we looked at our first place horse, and now here's the second place horse chomping at the bit, trying to close the gap. It's Chimp and Spade, and they've got a ton of space, and Zone dropped right on top of their head monster. This is a little bit different than yesterday where we had mostly south-central zones. This is the second time in a row now we've pulled up towards that northeast corner.
I would say that generally works against them as well, as less teams are going to be rotating, less likely to come on up to their general positions where they set up for surge, so it's going to force them into more of an aggressive play. And like you said, it's the second game in a row now. So last game, it seems like they managed to, you know, make it work and figure things out. They're going to have to re-employ the strategy they don't use very often, which can always leave room for error. So I am curious to see if they can continue to remain consistent this game, as Booga and Miro, you know, this storm is what they expect all the time. They just move out of the drop spot. They haven't really had it land on top of them too often in the tournament so far.
Now a little bit of a late rotate here. OMG, Me Too, and Shadow, we've talked about it. Some decent individual efforts from them so far today.
Wow.
Kind of struggling to get it go together, but Me Too says, Owl, what you doing? Poking your head up, and Owl responds in kind. He says, hey, you got a pretty nice assault rifle. I got one too. Here's some shots for you, as he gets his entire shields ripped away. And Shadow, honestly, this is a positive for both of these teams right now. I don't see too much white HP, minus that madness, so hopefully that should be enough to keep OMG, Me Too, and Shadow up, but otherwise they should be relatively content to trade surge and have their full duo up.
Not to mention, they still have metal capped out as well. So, you know, you can find brick, you can find wood coming into mid in their early game, late game. But, you know, the one thing you're not going to find, or very unlikely to find, is metal. In the distance, though, you hear the reboot van going off. Jackson trying to play the Fable Tackle, so they're going to be looking to get their second and third eliminations redone onto Fable Tackle. That could be an extra 6 points if the pickup comes through. If they're smart, they allow it to happen. So we'll see. But Commandment and Stretch right now, their name of the game right now is find some tags, as will be Clicks and Day right there. And that's the mark coming out. So, ooh, we might see Commandment find a little bit of an ambush there for the tags onto Clicks and Day. That could be a swing factor, right, for the duo fight that might break out down there.
Yeah. A very traditional split right now coming out from Stretch and Commandment, where they're keep it far enough, but Clicks and Day just went immediately. They just went for it as now in here. He was Knifer getting picked up. That was Nosh and Paper able to find him there as he tried to cut his jet set out, but fortunately it will get picked up. And I mean, as soon as you're in that sight line, that's when we talk about like line of sights being so important, and like how you have to be thinking about your rotations way ahead of time. As soon as he committed to rounding that corner, like it's 2 level changes, right? And then he's taken out. Now we'll swing on board. It feels like we haven't had a chance to talk about him that much today, Monster. Minus game number 1, Jumper and Dukes have had a little bit of a stall going on compared to yesterday.
And we knew it was possible, we knew it can happen, and it just looks like they haven't quite turned those gears just yet this tournament here. But this is the back half now. There's still a couple more opportunities. I'm sure they're taking note round after round, and the biggest problem is Storm Surge Zone 1. That is the one that's chomping away at their heels and all the other HP stuff that they're holding on to. But Donnie gets punished big time here. It hasn't looked very good for Macwood or Donnie today and yesterday. And right now, the big fight coming in from Illis and company here. One of the few teams that are actually taking a battle this early, long before the Surge even starts to warn players. This is a team that's looking to get way ahead here. And Tilted Towers, man, you're here. I mean, this is a no man's land. You can't just stand around here. Teams are going to fight. There's a reason players rotate in here. It just has that reputation for battle.
Yeah, and I mean, rotating from covert over here, just putting yourself in one not necessarily great position to another. I feel like Naized has been a very weird situation as Donnie finds a nice little tag there, double at it, trying to then replace the wall, finds even better tags on the TK, and this is a very winnable 1v2. If Donnie's going to be able to push forward, has an HP advantage. Here's the Chug Splash go out. Needs to be careful though, giving them enough time to be able to take this, because the advantage he had was being offset by their use of utility. It's going to be backed up, so just trying to make sure he's up on Surge. But I feel like Naized, with so many teams going Cavern, it kind of just negated the strength of that POI overall, as we see Miro pick up yet another stray Elam in the feed.
And Smite did as well. Mind you, Smite is, of course, fighting their way on consistent this game. That is a team that could be a sleeper, top 2, top 3, maybe even victors up to date, depending on how Miro and Bugha play out. Of course, though, we want to continue to see those highlights as they unfold. Bugha and Miro now have 2 eliminations, so a full and successful team wipe here. Let's watch how this went down. Miro swings around here. Max material. This fight went quick and easy, it seems like, as they just found the advantageous angle here. They wasted no time to finish it off.
Fantastic piece control right there from the TNA player. I mean, Miro just being able to own all of those grid spaces, slamming down the cones, putting down the walls, and then dropping right on top of his partner. And I mean, that's an additional nice little +6 points for them, and they don't have to worry about Surge. Frankly, with being 700 plus damage up, or 650 something damage up, they might not have to worry about second Surge either. And with their game plan, it's been, hey, just stay up till late game and things will come. And so far, again, I talked about it, hey, maybe they could do it last game. It's starting to look near impossible with just how good they're playing, Monster. I don't know if anybody can catch them.
Yeah, it's going to be tougher and tougher as the games go on, as they continue to find not only elimination, it's the placement points that are really scary, because they're making multiple end games. It could be, once again, like we said, that runaway train type situation where another game or 2 goes their way. I mean, that is surely going to be it. They might make it mathematically impossible or insanely ridiculous.
That's when the duo starts looking at it. It's like, all right, guys, we can catch them if we get a 39 elimination victory royale. It's okay, we got this, we got this. You know, as soon as you start putting in numbers in the teens and the 20s plus the VR, you know, you're kind of grasping at straws, like we can see Crack trying to do on the right-hand side. Him and Owl just trying to get in the box, and looks like he's able to pick up a couple of straws, but then drops them right back down. It was a hot potato, actually, and unfortunately looks like it's going to end up mashed as the Storm Surge pressure just a little bit too much, as PlayFi and Oliver OG trying to find some shots from above.
The same situation for them, though. They found themselves underneath the Storm Surge once again here. It was the same story last game, and again, although they've managed to find a good amount of points, it just hasn't been enough. Great little tags right there, though, from PlayFi as he finds a great angle from above, but still 90 damage below. All of that wasn't enough, and mind you, they have a fresh duo pack right next to them. I mean, both sides are listening to the shots go down. It's only a matter of time before it's all over. Makes you wonder, was it better for them to just take the box fight immediately, and instead now they waited out. Surge will do the rest here shortly, although the edits come in. He takes a little damage with him on the road there, set back from Magnolia, but still, points is what matters here. Stretch and Commandment on the other side, the top 5 team, one that's much more relevant to the general stake here coming into top game 10.
Right now we got some space, got some time, some players returning shots, but with third zone being revealed, everyone wants to get just a little bit of central, hoping that 4th drops on top of their head. We'll get a check in with, I mean, you can just start listing accolades, and I think by the time we rotate off the POV, we wouldn't be done. These guys have won so many tournaments, and they're looking to add another notch onto that belt here today. But they're sitting center zone. We know they're sitting pretty on Storm Surge. First round of placement points ends up coming through, so it's +7 for them on the day. And again, Monster, they're in tournament management mode at this point, and you're going to start hearing me talk about that a lot, because they don't have to be going and chasing elims. They don't have to be gaining points. They aren't the ones talking about, like, oh, we need to do X, Y, Z to win. All they have to do to win is hold on. The longer they're up in the lobby, every single one of those placement points that they get, that Spade and Chimp also gets, is a point taken away from them. The pressure is on the duo we are watching right now to chase the game.
Chimp and Spade have to get a lot of eliminations if they want to catch up. They're about, what's that, 10 or so off right now, yep. And you can see how many they've already picked up. They've been extremely active as they're currently our elimination leaders, you know, as a whole, you know, as a duo, but, you know, if they want to catch up to Boogie and Miro, they're still 10 off the mark, at least, to closing the gap, because one thing they cannot make up are the difference in placement points already made. That's the harder one to go ahead and outperform so far, as we've seen Boogie and Miro just stay super consistent.
You can see that Chimp has 28 eliminations by himself, which is more than all but 5 teams combined. So really, that's where they're trying to end up making up the difference there. As we'll swing on over, Clix and Day almost had a back-to-back wins to close out yesterday, have 2 victory royales in their back pocket, but we've talked about it. While their highs have been very incredible, their lows have really brought down their average scores, so they need to find a couple more of those really solid games, and clock's ticking against them. Like we said, the pressure is on everyone else to play a little bit of catch-up as we look at kind of this top 5, top 6.
Get the feed.
Shadow, yeah, Shadow able to pick up a knock there on a wanted.
Great knock on Tawana if they can get the finish there. I mean, those are points that they absolutely need to continue to claw their way back from that slipping out of 4th place position that we saw. The last 2 games have been generally pretty rough for them. Kind of boiling down to just being solos here. Smite and Larson, though, I would say the most impressive team today as far as teams that are making comeback stories come to life. Larson and Smite, after last game's high placing, then kicking this one off with elimination. There it is. Shadow does get the full finish onto Wanted, so it's a little bit of a comeback for them, but pressure's onto Smite and crew. Fire sets the floor. Blaze, that's a beautiful play right there. Out come all the armored walls to try to buy themselves some time, and for whatever reason, the lobby decides, hey, these are the guys we need to completely fire in on. Luckily, though, chug splashes will mitigate the flames. Armored walls will stop oncoming fire from at least one side, and this is a situation where having the right loot is just a difference maker.
Yeah, I always find the interesting decision where teams slam down those iron walls on their route first rather than the wall immediately in front of them, but it ended up providing them with just the ability to only turn into one direction, not worry about what might potentially pop above. So played very well for them there, and we talked about it. They're able to transition into the late game. They make plays every time. The mid game has been traditionally where they struggle, but covering that up today, as you see, Acorn, Kanata looking for a little bit of room here, and they're trying to find some shots there onto Shadow. You can see him and Me Too, not necessarily in the best of circumstances when it comes to HP, but somebody who's not in the best of circumstances when it comes to Storm Surge. Check the right-hand side, Monster. Currently, Nico and Polarized thing 97 below.
Not looking hot right now, and again, the fire is setting the stage ablaze here as the floor once again. A Chimp and Spade below the surge, 61 right now. They need to get active. 20 seconds left, 10 players have to go down. Not a lot of heals from what I'm looking at here from Trimp's inventory. Only 2 minis, 4 chili spice splashes here to work with. 10 seconds now. Only now the shots begin to come out from Spade. This is a late game for them.
There's a fight right above them though, Monster. There's a fight literally going on. There's another Storm Surge fight just 2 layers above them, so they're waiting, trying to maybe take advantage of this, trying to drop somebody down. My eyes are pinned on the right side of the screen right now because that's the team who has the chance to maybe push Boogie and Miro, but we knew that they got early elims, so they're the ones who aren't under the storm. Oh, it's Jamper. Spade are, and it's Jamper on the other side, and Spade is completely back down. Chip trying to find some room, but Spade is taken out back to the zone. Storm Surge is going to just be hammering away. No, they were able to get above it, but it cost them Spade, and it cost him so much of his utility.
What's crazy about that, that is second and third place going head-to-head, both exchanging a single player, but luckily Dukes will be able to get saved. This is that little bit of divine luck, not necessarily getting the player to get finished there, so Dukes will be able to bounce back and stay in the game right now. Talk about a close competition on what could have been, honestly, Booga's best dream come true right there. Second and third just eliminating themselves, but there is still hope for Chimp right now, who is trailing behind. Booga and Miro are the box right in front of him. They don't look out to Chimp's direction here as he makes his rotate all the way through.
But Chimp, yes, the short pad in that situation is very helpful, but he then had to invest so many of his hard mats to just safely end up tarping in, invest one of his 2 iron walls to cover himself. And as a solo, you need everything you can get. He's going to invest a second iron wall there just to make sure he's safe. So Monster, he wants to get into those cascading placement points and have a chance to clutch up, because keeping an eye on the top left, we're not even there yet.
It is so important for him right now to find eliminations, placement points, just everything possible. Squeeze out the lemon right here, get as much juice as possible, because you're not going to have many opportunities to catch up to Booga once he starts to continue to break away. He's already 30 points away, so first place is so far here, especially now as a solo. It looks just more impossible. Next door is that team that he's so worried about right now. Across from him is the other team he shouldn't be worried about, who's on his heels, is Dukes and Jamper. He is just in a pinch, a cross pinch of the teams that matter the most right now.
Neither of them have to move. They have the priority position. You can see just cone peaks coming out from Booga and Miro, actually editing them down, making sure they have a line. You can hear the launch pads being placed out. They're going to high path, and they have it tanked towards the far side of the zone, so you can tell they want to go maybe not all the way for height, but at least a layer that's up above. They don't want to be all the way on the ground floor, knowing it's going to be incredibly chaotic. They're the ones with the purple rays on the left side of your screen. They're also in the top right. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have Chimp, who is the solo in second place, trying to continue his run going through. After that, the next 2 teams who we're looking at are Smite and Larson, and Jamper and Dukes, who are both still up on their feet. You can see Smite and Larson just below the high ground on the left-hand side of your screen. Still plenty of swinging coming out as those mythic web slingers end up connecting. You can hear the sound all the way up.
Tomber ma connexion.
Super. On the backside of the walls, this could potentially play. Opens up the edit, doesn't find anyone, and it's just going to have a nice little combo. My eyes are on the bottom right-hand corner now as he's changing levels. He goes down. This means there's so much room for Booga and Miro.
Might have been caught for a moment, but now Surge is definitely the warning here that's coming through. Too many players have to go down. He is so far below. Chip needs to continue to find some action here. He's getting chased for going up to second height, biting off a little more than he can chew there. And there's a 6th place team underneath with OMGB and Shadow. Big rip comes through after that. That's going to be a huge setback for a 6th place team. But Chip now is under Surge threshold. 200, 170. He needs to find some tags here. Only 2 more ticks separating him. Big one there, but the counter fire was a little bit stronger, and 3 points get awarded to Shadow and company. On height though, Kanata and Acorn managed to maintain this position here. They snuck their way on up. This is the second game now. They're on high ground, trying to fight for a victory royale. They still in this one as well, earning points on the low. Jamper falls to the hands of Booga. Huge elimination there as Booga once again starts cutting down the competition.
Cease going down as well. Tamir just trying to add up those elimination points, but Cole trying to get a couple of his own. The 166 huge shot there falls to the this man's tracking is disgusting. Finds one there. That's the confirmation on the users. There's still another player behind him, but he has plenty of extra utility. He just needs time and space. Looking for find now on the backside of the zone. Peterbot right in front of him. Joji up there for another refresh monster.
These are knocks, these are eliminations, these are points that start to matter, especially if the zone does it. So you want to hit those down bodies. Cold, however, hits the wrong wall. There was a team waiting there. One big punch puts them down. Commandment shredded for using the Mythic Slingers to try and make a rotate there from Acorn and Kanata, who are just a little bit more aware. They are paying so much attention, lower themselves now to get closer to the enemy. Here. Smite is still alive here, earning points. He is a solo as well. What can we see him do? We've already seen this team just let loose every time they come into endgame. This is one of the better.
Another from Miro.
Look at that. Even pops mini for 2 HP. Anything matters right now.
Yeah, Miro picking up yet another elim, and I mean, at this point in Booga and Miro, I mean, we might be looking at the W here if they're able to rack off another win and more points. They're one of the few duos who are still up on their feet. They're on the low ground. They have 6 eliminations. 328 monster. I don't think anybody's even close to 300 at this point, and they're really opening up the gap, trying to put a firm stamp on it. They say trios, solos, duos, it doesn't matter. If we're Booga and Miro, we're winning it all about face. They find yet another Elim. Trashy gets cut down, and Booga dips back into the zone. A nice little bounce back will provide him with a little bit of respite here, as Bucky and Cam still up on their feet as well. Canada and Acorn trying to range shots in a mount, trying to get a connection. They have plenty of mats, but no ammo. What?
Yeah. They burnt out everything from the high ground, literally down to a pickaxe here on the low ground. Miro and Booga, opposite situation. They have everything that they need, and honestly, this is a game-defining performance here, a tournament-defining performance here at the very end. He managed to make it all the way into the top 5, leaves Booga behind as he gets picked off, but it doesn't matter. The real story is how he is continuing to earn placement points here as he breaks into top 3. I can't believe Miro and Booga have just done this consistently all day, just being the best team so far. But Crunchy and Pure on the low ground, Acorn and Kanata on the height. I mean, they're still fighting for more placement. There's still plenty of room for other teams to rocket their way on up and earn some money here.
Miro looking for a nice little layer of change there, but invests about half of his mats to not quite get it, trying to find the cone jump to get up, but instead has to cover himself with a Florinico to make sure Acorn can't get the pressure, trying to find a 1v1, finds a nice little trade, but he gets a decent amount of shield. They're still in the zone, trying to find the spray, taking the straight up fight against Acorn, winning the trade so far, swaps the pickaxe, gets the 24, but gets taken down. However, another top 3 performance for our leaders, and I mean, we see 3rd place. They're nearly 100 points behind him at this point. That might be all she wrote, so we could be looking at a battle here for 2nd from here on out. But right now, in game number 10, we got Pure and Country going up against one of the veterans with Acorn backing up, kind of up on the high ground. Acorn trying to put the shots down and close the layer. What they're going to end up doing, Acorn's going to get sent down to fight the 1v2. He has lower HP, so he needs to make sure he either goes down to the zone or he's able to trade out damage. Those are his 2 choices, and instead, he's just going to run back, make sure nobody gets siphoned, and hope that Kanata has the HP, and he's got the madness. This should be a dub monster.
Not really. Crunchy did have a couple splashes though, so it could come down to, but no, it doesn't look like Crunchy did have enough to maintain. Instead, Kanata says, nah, I don't want to leave it to the end game. I'm going to go for the siphon and the elimination. He gets it there in flash.
Ok. On va aller voir la boutique Fortnite dans 3, 2, 1. Alors, il y a ça, Pascal d'Athlon. Il y a ces skins là. Il y a ces skins là, ouais. Ouais, c'est dans cela. Ouais, voilà, donc en fait cette boutique c'est clairement de la D. Donc voilà. J'ai réfléchi un coup les gars. Un bon coup. J'arrive. y est les gars, mon logo est changé. Mon logo changé. Voilà. Hop.
Il était temps que tu charges ton téléphone, connard.
Merci, connard. Attends, on va faire décharger parce que là il est à 97%, je crois que c'est bon. On va aller voir hein, s'il y a déjà une game de lancer. J'ai lâché un stron les gars, donc désolé. Oh putain, j'ai le cul déchiré mon ref.
Just Cedryc Amelin, great push, being able to take advantage of the angle. We talked about this. If you are in the box of your vehicle, have to have an exit strategy immediately. Unfortunately, the park got one a little too tightly in the garage and couldn't get out without dinging the side mirror.
La 11e sur 12.
That's one of those things right there where looking back at it, they're thinking we should have turned the vehicle, should have aimed it at an exit wall instead of at a near indestructible, obstacle in front of them. And that is what happens when you're not completely prepared for every type of situation. Right there you saw the Beef falls on over to Jamper and Dukes right now, who have managed to make their way into Coney Crossroad, looking outwards to try to catch any stragglers that they can. Mind you, this is the team that has been struggling with Storm Surge for the last couple of games here today.
Right now, though, trying to find some shots in here. And it was interesting, too, because we were praising them yesterday how every single time they picked a target, they had 2 MK7s on it, and they were just raining shots down, even though they weren't finding elims. They were always a couple hundred above Surge, and it just hasn't been the circumstance today, and I don't know whether it's one of them opting into a Ranger. They aren't necessarily getting the positioning they want, but it's going to be something that I'm definitely going to go back and bother with, because it's been a big part of the reason that Bug and Miro have been able to just capitalize on the amount of space there, because they've been the ones who have been under storm surge pressure, whereas this team yesterday, who was doing phenomenal with it, just wasn't necessarily finding the same type of success. And right now we see right-hand side 258 below. That's the original line for the teams who are all the way underneath. It updates in Spade and Chimp. They're doing fine as they hang out on the long grass and look for a little bit of an ambush themselves.
Now looking at Kanata, Acorn, Kanata steps up and gets hit several times, and instead of changing position, he peeks the same exact corner right there. You see what happens when you make that repeat from the same angle. A little too comfortable with the fact that they have tons of heals inside the box. So now it looks like they went back to go ahead and pick up all that loot. Maybe they heard you talking to the back of their minds, thinking, yeah, maybe we should go pick up this loot, bring it with us. And they do just that. They bring it on up to the base, into the box. On over D-Roll and Trashy, who are 177 damage below. Very pivotal moment right now. They find these tags. They did not. So decision. Do you push? I mean, you kind of have to. They do have a vehicle.
Yeah, trying to find a little bit of space here, and with 166 below, 50 seconds on the clock, you can go with rifle tags. The problem is, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the map, nobody is close to them. So if you don't get those rifle tags, you're just kind of stranded, right? You don't really get a lot of other options, and then you're forced to really start kind of digging into utility, and here it goes. And this is what we talk about, man. Just like park the car going straight out towards the side, and now here they go, heading straight towards. Generally, you don't want to head straight towards the fight, but nobody was looking at them, so wasn't able to get the line. D-Roll was going to go up, take the high ground, trying to isolate somebody else, but not finding targets in that time. Keeps ticking, instead finds 2 players in a push. A couple of huge tags, but not sure if we'd be able to get them quite above. We're going to wait for the update on the right-hand side. Looks like other people are getting tags as well. They're falling farther below, despite getting tags in other places. Does get a knock there on the other side, but it looks like that was almost immediately picked up. And no, it wasn't a full knock. Now we'll just find the full knock of the player. It was so low that it wasn't enough damage to put them above. They're still below. They'll open up. There's 2 of the duos. Now there's 1 above. Shots coming from the side. Monster, this is so intense.
This is so insane because every team here looks like they need to find tags, and that's DJ Niamza who are lurking behind there in the bush, making it a little bit more difficult for D-Roll and Trashy. Again, gave up that high ground desperately to come down and find some tags. And look at this, they were 90 above, now 1 above. As things start to slip down and players get a little bit more active. There's a team under fire here. It's Kraken Owl on the right, one of the few that do have that pressure. On the left, though, you see that Trashy and D-Roller holding on by a slither, as only 3 more players have to fall here.
Yeah, you can see that on the right-hand side, just below, trying to find the shots, trying to sneak a sniper headshot in there. Would have been enough to put it over, but unfortunately, Crack doesn't get it, put it down. Monster down is huge in that circumstance, but they get cleaned up, so it's just a little too late. Threats and users will be able to outlast that one. They'll also pick up the additional 6 points, and unfortunately, Trashy D-Roller currently in 8th place, still 9 below here.
Yeah, that's the real problem, is that they were one of the 2 teams, and another team does have to fall here unless they can find the tags, and luckily a player does fall in that brief moment there. And you know what? They have so many heals to work with because of the loot that was sitting here inside the base that it is going to be A-okay. Very rarely do we see a team come back like this, but no, a solo was sitting there, pocket was 20, and his teammates down the blocks to get the full finish. Next play, but 20 just had more inside the ammunition. That was almost all over. Luckily, D-Roller does manage to clutch up here, but it's going to cost him so much.
Yeah, great timing there from 20 to drop down, hearing the big pot go off, knowing the player would be tied in the action, and now we'll get a replay of some of the action we missed during the Storm Surge, and we'll see which teams end up being impacted here. As Redux had a car just come straight on, and it actually looks like he hopped into that car, so nice little micro play from him there, but unfortunately ends up getting taken down. Paper and Nosh pushing forward, they're going to find a pair themselves, able to get that knock, box it up, and then get it confirmed, so it's going to feel pretty good as it puts them up above, and then as Nosh ends up getting edited down, going to find the second, barely traded that.
Those full finishes to catch up here. Man, that was a crazy set of engagements there, set of exchanges, a lot of teams falling naturally. Expect that to happen. A few more fall. Lower D-Roller stepping back to the Storm here.
Oh, where's that malade?
City to go and pick up Trashy, so they're back in the game. Now, mind you, there was plenty, and we mean plenty, of heals. But, uh-oh, this is a 5-tick. Oh, yeah, good. It's
This is going to get real rough real fast. They have 10 seconds to make it into the zone, and even with the Chunks at Whiplash, the one chili Chunk Splash is going to buy them an additional 4 seconds, but shots are already coming in. Trying to get it, but Smite Larson has direct light. Medmits from D-Roller, while Trashy continues driving through. 1 HP in a dream, they're going to get the metal builds up immediately. I think Trashy might have gotten knocked. Yep, there it is there as the update ends up coming through, but D-Roller will end up getting in the zone. However, the reason he ended up dipping back in was to reboot Trashy, so a little bit of tough math there to decide if you ended up getting a net gain in that regard to Smite and Larson. And a nice little +3, and they know there's a solo right there.
They know he's weak as well, but they do know that's the player that at least has all the loot. As they can see from Trashy's loot, just a pistol drop. He didn't get much. He came down flying and tried to get as close to the zone as possible before getting picked up in the ride.
Take a look now. Colton Centered picking up a couple of Evelins here, trying to get themselves back in the conversation with 2 games left. They're up into the top 10, a little bit of a slow start yesterday, but you know what they talk about momentum. Once you get that ball rolling downhill, it doesn't gather a lot of moss. Instead, just picking up points, getting bigger and bigger as they continue rolling and operating on the low ground, where they like to be a nice little expanded base around them. But I was just about to ask, how are our leaders doing? The question is, 267 above in the second surge with 0 elims. So their Storm Surge routes are bronze.
Nothing to worry about right now. Not this game, probably not for any of the next ones as well, as they're getting themselves one step closer to an FNCS championship title here on the new chapter. Going to be one of the first to do it on NAEs, but question remains if they can continue to stay consistent for Smite, though. He's the clutch master here, finds D-Roller, the solo. Loses Larson, though, unfortunately, because the lobby starts to look inwards. And now, although he is safe inside the zone, he's just 100 damage above here. It seems like the team next door is desperate for tags as well. Have to be cautious that they don't just come pushing on in. Look at the loadout here. This is a big loadout for a player like Smite. Smite can do a lot with this.
Yeah, it does have the 7 minis there. Would hopefully like to find some chug splashes or embed something to allow them to play in the zone, so he has a little bit of room for error, but instead going to be relying on the legendary and the mythic loadout, and that's a very up close and personal. A little bit lucky for him as he does pull a relatively close zone. He should be able to only use one of those web slingers to be able to get in. Running if he clicks bottom right hand side, just try to find a little bit of space here. Wants to get the revive on today. It will go off. He has the time, he should be able to stick it. Zone isn't going to start rotating for another 30 seconds. They have plenty of excess shields, but I don't see any white HP in his loadout. I'm not sure if there's some in Naized, so they're going to swing on over to Dukes and Jamper. And one thing Monster has in common with all of these teams we've looked at, they're all on the top of the leaderboard and they're all under pressure.
Expected there too, so he is somewhere alive nearby Dukes and Jamper. But on screen though, Nets is well below the surge here. The one solo that is below the surge. Players are listening to this go down. False alarms here from the side. Nets though grabs the wall, hold up. Okay, locks up a player, finds himself 3 points, takes a launch pad, and out he goes. It's just enough to stay alive, so fighting for his right now. On the other side, Dukes and Jamper doing what they can to just go ahead and keep a low profile, not attract attention here.
Saw doing that little exchange. Spade ended up picking up an Elan in the feed. Currently up on the high ground. Avery and Muzz, who've been quiet today, making it out of covert though. Quickly, we talked about how so many duos are there. They're able to kind of get running, get some points on the board. They might be able to leapfrog. But on our right-hand side, Monster, we've talked about it maybe being a chance, maybe being clutch stuff. We've looked at the exchange of points as we've looked at the total points going through. If Boog and Miro pick up any amount of significant points here, it's over. It's done unless there is an absolute record-breaking performance. We could be looking at the Axe of Champions being handed out right now because they are leading in Elans, they're leading in placement points, and they're just leading in overall style when it comes to how they've been playing this entire weekend here in the FNCS Finals for NAs.
A lot of review-worthy gameplay so far. By far the best team.
We must review this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Need to update that. You mean photo there, but hold up. Let's see it. This is a run into the zone right now, trying to get ahead. Possibly look for the pad in, but Chip and Spade on the other side. 250 above the surge here. Zone starting to pull favor to their general location here. Plenty of mats to work with as well. Here's a team that can still get up there on the standings. Don't count him out just yet. Smite as well. Whoa, he's alive here. Flying his way across the map right now, just trying to stay in the runs. One more team falls. Team earn placement points all the way through the very end. The Spade and Chip is on the very backside of the rotate right now. Chip almost close to sitting inside the storm line, but does sneak his way around, but no, Spade gets lost on the edge there. Now, Chip left as a solo here to play this one out. Pressure. Things just got a lot more difficult for him on high ground, not an A-core, trying to go for the back-to-backs right now. Can they get another win? Is what they're playing for here.
They're trying to push themselves into the conversation. That's on the left side of your screen, but Boog and Miro are still up, still hip to hip. Miro's taking a bunch of damage, as you can see that. Smite still solo, still running through. He picked up an Elam onto Pledge to get him a very key refresh. However, he's only on wood builds. That's in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to zoom in. He tries to put the heavy shot in the wood. He's shooting, but not going to find those clay pigeons in the sky, not getting the tags he needs. As he's still keeping an eye on the top left-hand corner. Acorn and Kanata have been pushed out from the high ground. It's Quad and Magnolia. We're going to take it away. They're raining shots down, but no eliminations for them. They need to start picking them up if they want to rocket up that leaderboard and get a little bit higher in that placement. But, I mean, Monster, we got to focus on it because this could be the W right here as they're into the cascading placement points. Another top 20 performance. Miro, though, no excess shields, no excess white HP, minus that Pepperucci just popped in the running low on builds.
At this point, just give him a little moment. He might just find a site and they manage to play out of their minds absurdly all the day here on high ground. It's a little battle going down, but Quad Magnolia don't have much heals to work with, so I don't know what they're thinking there, as they also don't even have ammo to work with. But Chip as well is in a much different position here. He has to fall to low ground or sit in the storm and take it out. Does it bounce back is the question. This is what he's hoping happens. It does, so he will be able to do just A-okay as things get a little bit closer. One more tick is all he's got here. Out he goes. Nicely done there. If that would have went any other way, that would have been game and Raptor. Instead, he gets to stay alive and earn a little bit more. These heals, very important. Smite's still alive. Smite is still alive here. In the blow drive, he's fighting. He takes out Day 2 and Alvaro G. Smite is going crazy here. Talk about a player who is clutching up to earn big points, stay close inside this competition. That's Smite for you today. Chip doing the same thing, though, is now he's got a second elimination here for the team. So far, so good. But now, out of builds, what can they do here?
Yeah, but look who's still up on his feet. Booga might be down, but we talked about it. You eliminate one, you have to deal with the other. He drops in another 4 points over. He'll get taken out, but a top 6 performance from Booga and Miro. It has to feel like it's been enough, unless something ridiculous happens in game 12. They've played an absurd performance, but right now, trying to push themselves into contention for that second place spot. We have 6 and 8 still up. Coming on his stretch, pushing down. That's the also getting cleaned up, but Stretch also gets picked up, so now it's Confident trying to push his way through, looking for a little bit of space over towards the front side of the zone, but he is on absolute low. Gonna slam down the iron wall, trying to play some footsie around the outside, but the zone cuts off the space. He's able to tap and dance, and his number gets cut short. As Colden said, to continue to try and bring shots down, we have a 2v1, v2, and that'll get picked up as Plampi goes down, and now it's Elite and Tabney versus Sentin and Cold. 2v2, match 11 here, Monster.
Right now, 10 eliminations on the low ground. Big game for Tabney. But hold up, fight going up top. Looks like 10 pushes up a little too soon. And Cole mounts him 2 pieces there. Sentin now with a follow-up. Here comes the full finish. Sentin gets it. Nicely done. He leaves the body though. Doesn't go for the cycle, so it's all or nothing right now. Big risk coming through his Tabney. Sneaking by. Also comes in. There goes the down body, but Sentin was quick and so was Cole. And then they come for the elimination and the victory.
Great presence of mind there from Cole to keep up the pressure, but we saw so many of the top duos continue to drop, but who yet again claims another top 10 performance, top 6, a couple of elims to him. Miro and Booga, I think it's done, Monster. I don't think, unless something utterly ridiculous happens. We'll take a look here. Sentin and Cole pick up their victory royale with, I believe, 6 eliminations.
Points, and that's where their consistency is coming from. We saw Booga right there go down in the end game, right? And we were seeing backstage, and I was like, oh, there goes Booga. And then, SVG was joking, yeah, but Miro's still alive. And sure enough, he finds another elimination. And it's just crazy how solo they just do it again and again.
Yeah, it's incredible. And just the mid-ground play, forcing everyone off their layer. They own literally whatever they want in this lobby. It is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, let's have a look at the leaderboard right now as it stands after game 11 with one game left for an NAE to go. That is game 12 coming your way. But as you can see right now, this is how it stands. Mira and Booga retain top spot. They are currently 69 points in the lead right now. Unless something crazy happens, like a team decides to contest them at Jonkers and change things up completely, can Spade and Chimp catch up here, Vivid?
Yeah, I mean, listen, 69 points behind there, the victory route gives 32. That would have to be a victory route with like 10 plus eliminations. I just don't see that happening, but hey, anything is possible. And we talked a little bit about how this top 5 is just so close. Look at this, 8th place we have Dangflix with 254, and then in 4th place we have Acorn and Tyler 273. There's only a 19-point difference separates 8th and 4th right now. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And everyone's essentially playing for second place here. You know, when someone comes in like Miro and Booga's just on fire, you gotta tip your cap, but you still gotta do the best that you can. And anyone on this page, I'd say from 8th to 2nd, like you said, Vivid, can make that play for that second spot and really take over. This is gonna be a close final battle here for these last few spots.
I mean, lads, all it's going to take, and it's totally possible here, is that Booga and Mira get 0 points, nothing at all this next game, and then Chimp and Spade get 13 eliminations and a victory round. I mean, Vivid, we're asking too much here.
No, not at all, you know. But then, I don't know, that's just so hard to do. And we've seen them get plenty of elimination. You know, Chimp and Spade right now do have the second most eliminations, but guess who they are behind? Booga and Mira, they have the most eliminations. So how are you going to teach these guys out early in the game? It's just not possible. They're just so well-rounded.
Yeah, I don't know what's more likely, Booga and Miro getting a 0-point game or someone getting a 13-0 victory royale, because both seem very unlikely at this point.
Hey, the FNCS finals, you know, we always say this, anything is possible, okay? Destiny would do its thing, alright? For you guys at home, though, do let us know if Booga and Miro are going to go all the way. So let us know who you think is going to come 2nd, 3rd, perhaps as well, because it's so tight, as we just saw there as well. You know, there's so many teams in contention, and every single one of those places, there's a big difference in prize pool earnings as well. So let us know. It's all to play for all of our teams in that top 10. Let's have a look at our Game 12 right now, because the action awaits us. The very last game of FNCS Finals here at NAE this season, Chapter 3 Season 1. Let's head over to MTF and a Sundown. Fellas, bring it home. Let's do it. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Adam, Vivid, and SBG. One more match to go, Monster. If we were reading a novel, going and seeing a movie, all that, as far as I'm concerned, the big action scene has happened. We've seen the climax. We know how this all plays out. But what's left after that is the denouement, the falling action. Who places second? Who's able to just edge out an opponent for a bigger paycheck? That's what's on the line here in Game 12.
Yeah, absolutely. Life-changing opportunity on the line for players like Smite and Larson, Spade and Chimp, Acorn, Kanata. There's so many that are really in contention for 2nd and 3rd place. I mean, the list goes on to about top 10 or so, and there's a lot of new faces in there that would love to take home any of these top seeded spots. We're talking about so much tournament prizing that's on the line here.
Yeah, and there's all the clout and the notoriety that ends up coming with NAE being one of the largest and most competitive regions going through. But the stakes are on the table. Now we'll see who will clear it away in cash out as we head in to match number 12.
It's been a long road to the FNCS Finals, but here we are. The final game of NA East is underway here. Game number 12. And the last time today, or the last time NA East to date, players get to take to the Fortnite world. On screen, you're watching what will be your FNCS champions, Miro and Booga, take to the world. Their drop spot, Chonkers. Speedway has just done them so well today, but more importantly, the strategy that they've been putting into play has been review worthy. We talked about you can learn so much from players that excel the way they have.
Yeah, the one thing I will note here is the one time they had a little bit of difficulty yesterday was on a very long bus path like this, where they had to fly farther, and the team who landed at Rocky was able to grab an MK7 and then shoot Booga out of the air. However, that quote-unquote struggle still ended up being one of the stronger games. So just noting the impact the bus path can have on the overall game as Bugha checks his surroundings, tries to figure out where people are so he can rotate on in. And we'll just kind of get a look at their loot path as no one is anywhere remotely near them. And we'll flip on over to the other side, and when all is said and done over at the Grove, Rise and Agers will just barely edge out Naized and Sprite 7-5. That was a pretty close, Monster.
Yeah, at least they get to come out on top in the final game here, but overall, they threw away what could have been their tournament, all due to losing those 3 early game takeouts. But not to mention, last game we talked about how, you know, being out of the competition for those first couple games will offset you. You'll be cooled down. You don't have the hot fingers, and they don't pretty much weren't able to do much. They slipped even further down the rankings, so now they're in top 17. Can they pop off this game and reach a top 10? It's possible.
Yeah, so if you are watching at home, you're probably wondering, what do I care about as a viewer? Well, if Chimp and Spade go down, Bugha and Miro win. If Bugha and Miro get a point, Bugha and Miro win. Honestly, in 99.99999% of circumstances, Bugha and Miro get the FNCS win. The only way that doesn't end up happening if Spade and Chimp have a monstrous, and I mean monstrous, record-breaking game so far here in the duos and end up winning it, and Bugha and Miro go down. So that means, unless you see their names in the top left-hand corner either way, we're going to start to focus on what all the other duos need to do in order to kind of get ahead of the people who are immediately near them. We'll take a look because the Simple 120 have put down a decent amount of pressure here, and oh, I love that, hopping in his own boat, not letting him even remotely think about getting away.
Yeah, there's no way you're escaping that. And to your point, yes, it has been a Bugha and Miro kind of weekend. The broadcast has had them on stage so many times today. Also to highlight those other players that are fighting for the big tournament money and prizing as well. There's still loads to be earned here for R-Star and Cedryc. They're going to be our early game news right now. Little fights here to keep us nice and busy as we start to get to that end game. Nice job for Cedryc there, putting one of the first victors. First big Elans that we've seen from him on the day here. Okay, take home your little highlights. Nicely done there as he grabs up Flood there. On the other side, though, looks like OMG Me Too gets caught in the crossfire here up against Jackson and Fable Taco. We've seen this fight go down the last 2 rounds, and they were on top. This time, they finally get exchanged on.
Yeah, but we've seen, though, that Shadow and Me Too have done a very good job when one of them does go down, disengage the situation, find a way to kind of give them a little wiggle, give them a little strafe, lose the bogey in there, and then double back. We've seen them be able to reboot and get people back up on their feet. However, as we've harped on pretty much the entirety of the weekend, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. If you want to win a match, you are dealing against the statistical odds there. CKO and Pledge trying to find a little bit of room to operate. They're right on that 21st to 20th line, so looking to end up on the north side of that 24, that payday, but Vert on the other side trying to fight defensively here and back them down a little bit.
Yeah, looking to break this whole build down. Down it comes. It was just a solo hitting inside. Only Vert. Up comes Teo here. Great cone, great patch. Ooh, that's a full box if I've seen one. And it comes to double edit from the side there. Nicely done, but Pledge punished in the process. Now comes a fresh duo. Swinging on in. They're coming in quickly now. Okay, it's Princess Wolf and AMT who managed to jump into the fight right now.
AMT hoping not to live up to the name. AMT misses a lot and put the pressure on. They've done a very good job when they've been able to kind of get in these types of situations, but defensive movements can be a little bit difficult. You can see good defensive pressure coming out from Teo and Pledge, trying to get together in the box. Good shot trade out onto Princess Wolf there to back them down a little bit, not let them really get the angle. They are doing a good job of making sure they pressure and holding the right hand, but not finding any actual tags. And you can actually see him open up there from AMT. We'll get some good damage on the Pledge. Should have been calling a white tag out there. If they can find Pledge, they should be able to finish it. Teo gets the shield pop, so he's going to get back down as we see in the feed. Hump actually ends up picking up Commodon as AMT and Princess Wolf get a nice little clean pick up there.
That's pretty rough for Commandment, though, that we just watched get fully finished there by Nani, as that fight was all going down. So the knock and finish comes through in quick succession there. That means Commandment and Stretch are going to be in a tight situation for a great placing spot here leading into the end of the tournament. Keep in mind, they were in 6th place. This is a team that can realistically take home a second score right now. That's, by all means, amazing for an FNCS.
Yeah, and one thing to note too, when Bug and Mero have been so dominant, particularly on day 2, they've eaten up a lot of the points. That means the rest of the leaderboard is just that much closer, and that there's that much more on the line in this game if you are able to put it all together, if you are able to get that victory royale, and you're one of those teams who is in kind of like that 15th to 20th range, you're making yourself literally tens of thousands of dollars and put it all together. I always throw it back to the World Cup. Everyone remembers Boga kind of having that moment in Game 6 where he knew he had won, he had all the points there, he kind of sits back and like puts his hand over his head. But everyone wasn't watching Crew at that time. We went from 66 to 6 with a 6 Elam victory royale, and we've seen that at times here in the FNCS where everyone's like, oh, we don't have a whole lot to play for right at the end, but the team who's able to buckle down and really get out that last performance gets themselves a payday, gets themselves a result, and that could be any of these teams here. I mean, Death and Tabney, they're right on that line too with 158.
And not to mention, you know, these results do matter. They carry on with you, right? It kind of shows your worth and your value coming from season to season. For the most part, this is what a lot of other players look to when they start to determine and decide, all right, what have you done? What are your accolades, right? How good are you placing inside the Death and CSs? You have to play them out all the way through to the end. These are, of course, the best 50 in our region, so hats off to everyone who's made it this far. But of course now, getting a great ranking out of this is always something to marvel at. As now Tabney and Def are trying to fight their way on up.
And again, can't stress enough just how difficult it is to even get to this point in the competition. This is the best of the best, and at any point in time, if we're ever critical or critiquing the gameplay or going through, just remember that these players are not only infinitely better than myself and maybe half infinitely better than Monster, because he's definitely still got more hands than me. But they put in the work, and we talk about the skill difference between these guys. It's the smallest of things. That's what we talk about. Hey, really good job pressing that advantage there, because when you get one, you have to go, and it makes it all that much more impressive when you see players like Boga and Mero who are doing it across not only different game modes but with different teammates and just still putting up these results time and time again.
It's a very important fight, though, on screen, because Dukes and Jamper are looking to get their way into the competition. If Shadow gets down in the feed there, that might be your 9th place team out of the competition all the way, looking to slip down. So that's a position that's going to open up inside the top 10 for others to go ahead and strike at. For Dukes and Jamper, though, this is a fight that not only means all the serve, but also the points to get back to where they need to be. Some straight shots come flying past them. They don't flinch at all. Instead, they jump on in. If they get in this box now, they can get 12 points out of this. That's 1 Elim. There's another on the other side. They actually get 2, so Jamper picks up the 6. 6 more are definitely available. There's no shields on Milks.
And I'm just going to continue to keep an eye on that top left, because I'm going to call it when we hit 35 duos. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if Boga and Mero earn a point, like, that's good enough. They're into the plays and points. They've done it every single time. They haven't had that. Like, as soon as we see 35 go through, I'm done with this hypothetical, oh, like, maybe somebody has a chance. No, they've won once it's there in that circumstance. So that's the next big moment we're going to see on our screen.
Coming up pretty closely right now. This lobby really beginning to thin out the fastest of the day. You expected. It's been a long tournament weekend. Take a look at the highlights. Part of the reasoning to how quickly the battles are starting to close out, wrap up. Players looking to sit back and reset for the next season visuals. With what might be some family members nearby there watching play out.
I hope that's a family member. Otherwise, dude, you have a ghost over your shoulder, and you need to go to get out of dodge. But yeah, mannequin challenge right there. And I think that clip in particular illustrates some fantastic shots, but it shows the strength. And I've talked about it all the time. Everyone's just kind of like tosses those auto shotguns out. But in early on engagements, in box-to-box fights, especially with these players, you talk about how good they are. They don't miss those shots, right? They're putting the full crosshair on. That thing chunks.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage. Damage that is just, you know, again, it can change an entire battle round, can change your entire tournament position up, because, you know, when you start to get ripped up, if a team's close enough, they're going to jump in, and honestly, if they have the mythic web slingers, we've already seen fights initiate just off that, especially in the early game when there's more distance between the teams and you have more room to do stuff like that. Ooh, sniper shot so close to connect. Wall comes down just to tie that one too. A-code a little bit higher. He could have had a headshot there that I would have been happy to see go down.
I love watching people carry the sniper. I figured we'd probably...
I wish we had more.
That's what I'm saying. I thought we would see more in the adaptation. I feel like it's probably because we had a little bit of a slightly condensed FNCS that we didn't necessarily have the time come through. Like, we're just now starting to see players be like, hey, this Ranger rifle's pretty good if you're able to pick headshots, right? Like, at the start of the season, it was, oh, if you're not running an MK7 and dual stingers, like, what are you even doing? But largely, we've seen the dual meta has boiled down to what Jamper and Dukes are doing, and right now, little update, Booga has the only car elim of the entire FNCS final, so leading in points, eliminations overall, and car eliminations monster. They got every category on lock.
Probably a record for all FNCSs. Wait, never mind. Maybe if you count vehicle plane season, maybe there was one or so in there, and either way, impressive. Impressive nonetheless, picking up accolades here.
We don't talk about whatever 2018 monster. We don't talk about that.
True. We'll leave it there. Stretch, however, is a solo right now. Just barely above the search.
Looking for a little bit of space here over on the side. As again, we talked about it. I mean, keeping an eye on the top left-hand corner, waiting for people to do things, waiting for people to push through. But with so many players going down, there's not that many players over Storm, so the action has largely been front-loaded. But look at these guys, even just throwing shots over towards the side, Booga ends up getting the confirm onto Polarized. He didn't get the knock, so no points going over. But, I mean, no eliminations, a 300 above surge. Just 2 more duos need to go down. That clock is ticking, but they might as well just release the confetti because they're going to be the champ sponsor.
Get the confetti ready. I'm sure they'll be dancing in their boxes as the game continues to develop on too. We'll get plenty of that. Just wait for it. The celebrations start to come on in. For Clicks and Day, though, no time to celebrate just yet. They're well within the top 10 spot right now, well within striking for second or third. If they can turn up just a little bit here, and this is a fight that could result in 6 points being gifted to them. They are above the search, they don't have to activate it, they don't have to force it.
But somebody who might have to look for a little bit of action here is Stretch. However, the one thing to note, because he is a solo, there is still another duo. And as long as that other duo who is getting hit isn't the only other solo in the lobby, they will both be taking damage. So if they end up going down, Stretch can just wait it out. However, the duo is going to have more access to utility. So while Stretch is just trying to heal this out, he only has the 6 minutes, which is only going to buy him about the 30 seconds he's going to get there. And we'll see where the other surge is going off. It looks like it might be sending in cold with the shield kit going off on him. It is. They're currently our top 5 duo, but like I said, extra utility on them. They're fine. Nope, they're actually above.
Yeah, I was going to say 71 players now, and Stretch is the only one getting tagged, so just so happened to turn out that way for him. Although he found the tag there in the distance, that's not going to be enough either. Still 5 below here. Clock is ticking as now he's popping a med kit. Let's see if it was well timed. As again, this is a team that was in 7th place coming in. Now, all wraps. My pick for the day, the team I expected to do amazing, if not best. All in all, still a great performance out of them. This last game, a lot shorter than what they were expecting as well. Losing Commandment early, man, that's a tough thing to fight back from for any duo.
So I was able to pick up a couple of the small fries, just extend it a little bit, but unfortunately the gas station sushi is only going to sustain you for so much as it gets taken down. That's the end of their FNCS, and just falling a little bit short of probably where they would have wanted to be, but still a good run. Good run on their side. Not going to be too upset, but Monster, you see that number in the top left-hand corner? That's less than 35, right?
Here we go. We're earning that placement points here, Sundown, as you called, as you expected. Chip and Spade now have officially probably lost their chance.
It's done. It's done. I'm not saying probably. It's done. There's no shot.
Like, even Spade fight for second in the last game.
They currently hold the lead on second place. So now we're going to shift the storyline over. Congratulations, Booga Mirror. We'll celebrate after the fact. You'll get your Axe of Champions in a little bit. Amazing season, all that. Now what we're immediately focused on, Smite and Larson still up. Spade and Chimp still up. The battle for second is there. And then who is going to be able to capitalize on this opportunity, knowing that Booga Mirror probably aren't going to push for that way, knowing that they just want to accumulate as many points as possible? You can potentially leapfrog somebody else, but the game's going to be a little bit differently paced because so many teams have gone down earlier. So this next mid-game, the second zone surge, depending on where fourth circle drops in the next 3 seconds, things are going to get very interesting.
with how many teams were taken out already, a lot of damage opportunities removed from the game, and this is where having zone early and just getting that little bit of luck is going to favor you much more, as you don't want to be the teams rotating late. Not when there's this much space open on the field. Less builds means more sight lines for opponents. As you see, Smart and Larson should have faced up alongside Acorn. There in Kanata, they're Scented and Cold, who are, once again, find themselves in an upwards climb here, right? They're up in 5th place, no elims just yet this game, but talk about a comeback story for several different duos that we've seen today, just putting up monstrous performances. I mean, Cold and Scented have been very consistent today, as have Smite and Larson, so we'll love to see it. Even Kanata and Acorn rocket their way all the way back with those victory royales and high ground plays, so very impressive. I mean, teams that are earning their way to top 5 actually fought for it here so far in day 2.
Yeah, the top 5 has been absurdly consistent, and it's just been tough to cover when their consistency is then in comparison to one of the better just full tournament performances we've seen on NA East out of Bug and Miro, where you don't necessarily get those super high highs, but they've just been doing everything very cleanly. Taking all the boxes here as we see Cold trying to find a line of sight there. I'm looking at the top part of the screen. He's got some great angles. Now we're swinging on over to Champion Spade. And again, don't forget, they're the ones who are currently holding that 2nd place spot. So when we go back to that tournament management conversation, right, they don't have to necessarily push for elims. Just getting the placement points and going through, unless Smite and Larson really start lighting up the feed, they should be okay to just play a little bit more defensively.
Look at this, they're right on the border. 125 damage in the surge. They find a vehicle there. That could be huge for them. And it comes out. There's no way they're going to line up for Spade and Chimp here, right? Yes, they do. Couple tags are earned from that. The vehicle's about to explode, and down they go to take a look at this. As Spade now is trying to find the rest of those tags, force that team out of the box for Cold and Scented. However, they are 8 above the surge, just barely here. So they will also need to continue to find some tags here.
Yeah, and that'll turn on in 20 seconds. That number has just been dropping the entire time, but Cold is just scoped all the way in, hiding behind the cone, using that first-person peek advantage, and finding some great tags. There's 2 different headshots, 3 different body shots, trying to see if he can't even find maybe a cheeky elim there on the backside of the zone against the player rotating out. Yet another body and headshot coming through on the right side of your screen there. Knifer and Bylot 49 below, but you see Knifer able to chain a couple of shots through 57 below, but they've already started investing the chili chug splashes. That 25 damage every 5 seconds is coming through, and we're going to swing on over to the duo who's under the pressure. Storm at the back, Lobby being thrown into him, and now Storm Surge begins firing off too. They got to go.
We saw what happens when they get contested off the drop and they were taken out. It managed to have them slip down so low down the standings here now, just inside the top 13. And they're still below the surge here. 2 more heals left here. They're going to negate some of the damage, but that's not enough to survive the full tick. So I'll go by crew intel box. It's a 2-man there. They find 1. Can they get the 2nd? Yes, the AR comes out. Jamper falls. Oh, that means they caught Duke. Okay, this is huge, but no, Duke was just strong enough there. Just enough ammo inside the inventory. I mean, for all we know, rifle could have been exchanged out of the hands of Knifer there, but whoa. Now the zone's pulling here, so Jamper's going to drop what he can. Heels go down. Can he get to safety here? Yes, he can.
That chug splash is coming out right there from Dukes to cover him immediately. Has the guzzle juice as well, so as long as he doesn't take a tick from the zone, that should be able to top him off. Has access shields there, so a little bit of potentially inefficient chug splashes, but it's fine, saying we need as much HP as we can, and we need every help we can, so hop in the truck, hear the music, and let's go straight into zone. We've seen this rotations in the top left-hand corner. Booga is taken down, but we're into the top 25. Haven't seen Miro fall. There is still 2 rounds of placement points with Smite and Larson still up on their feet. Again, though, shouldn't matter. Should still be the dub going over to them as Dukes. Without his buddy Jamper looking for a little bit of space. 3 elims to his name so far. On the right side, here's Vero just trying to run it out, but we've seen solo clutches coming out from him today, and it should be fun.
Yeah, Vero just looking to pad up the highlights here, make a big play for the victory lap at the end right now, but Dukes has a lot to fight for right now. If he gets targeted, loses the wall, but doesn't even flinch to go in and throw a counter wall up. Instead, he sits back, watches, and tries to avoid line of sight here. He is in 6th place currently. 24 duos remaining now in the lobby. That's placement point being given out on high ground though. Kanata and Acorn looking to set themselves up for victory royale. A fight for 2nd to jump up to 2nd if they can go ahead and pull in a win now.
here. Rotation ends up coming out. Launch pads are popped on the backside of the zone. That's Mega and Charlie taking to the air, one of the first end games we've seen them in. We're going to hop on over here. Smite and Larson, they're on the outside looking in from that top 2 spot, but the placement points keep taking over. They have the opportunity to push for it and potentially overtake Spade and Chimp. That's what we're going to be keeping an eye on. But also, I just have to mention it, Miro picked up another Elam, just doing solo champion type things. Is actually towards the front side of the zone, so this kid is just ridiculous. But Chimp and Spade right now find an Elam on the backside of the zone, trying to stretch that lead between them and Smite and Larson. Spade was able to find another one, so that's 2 Elams going over to them.
This is actually massive for them to hold this second place right now. They're fighting for it, right? Because you have your third place Smite and Larson still very much in this game. Chip, though, however, gets stacked up big time, and down he goes. Smite, however, on the bottom side is looking much, much better now that they're finally 14 above the Surge. So they're just barely above it. 8 players are going to have to go down now. Surge is definitely going to turn on in just a little bit if they don't continue to fight their way through. In the feed, Rise goes down, Panzer goes down. These are big exchanges there now. Chimp and Spade, though, are still in this game now.
Right now, we talked about the battle for first already being just completely locked up, but in the top right, we have second, in the bottom right, we have third, and then on the left side of your screen, on the high ground, we have 4th place. So the battle for second is on, while the Axe of Champions are going over to Miro Booga as he continues another absurd solo run. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are all putting it on the line, trying to battle it out. Acorn and Canada need to press, they need Elams, they need to make up the point gap. They're behind by not an insignificant amount. Smite and Larson, same thing. They need to put the pedal to the metal a little bit. The Elams are equal, but you can see Dukes and Jumper picking up some more points, trying to close themselves in on that battle. Just keeping an eye on the top left, going up for the high ground speed. Plenty of builds, great cone off there. And Cam gets taken down. That's a refresh, but how many builds does it get for it? Only picks up 5. So missing a decent portion of that refresh there. Trying to go back, seeing if there's more builds, seeing if there's more loot. He'll get it. He'll pick up the armored wall as well. Picks up some much needed chug splashes to get himself back up. As again, keeping an eye on the top left-hand corner of the feet. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, all still battling it out.
Yeah, definitely, and in the mid-ground, here it is. Duke's still alive as a solo right now, fighting his way on up, but he still has to manage to overtake his way out of 6th place, even with the 7 eliminations as a team right now. Duke's has really been picking up the numbers here. In between them lies all types of players right now. He is just slipping and sliding his way through right now. That's the enemy wall behind him. There goes the replay. He doesn't want to be standing on top of any of these enemy builds on high ground. It's Chip versus Nosh. Chip manages to maintain it. Shots come in from the front side of the zone there. That's Magnolia trying to put his focus on the numbers here, but Spade is now officially out of the competition. It's up to Chimp all by himself. Now, last we checked, he was about 3 or 4 eliminations ahead of the players behind him. Can he find a little bit more to continue to give him the cushion and maintain the 2nd place spot? We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Great wall right now for Chimp. Great wall right there. Even better shot. Follow up. Nicely done there. Down goes Duke. A little bit less competition for him, and yes, he manages to clutch himself out and catch his way all the way back into this, but the double focus, it's from the top, it's from the bottom. Great terrain change there as well, as he's trying to just avoid the pressure here. Chimp is putting it all on the line right now for this positioning here. He wants this money more than anyone, and now it realizes it all sets in here. He's out of builds. What can he do? Can he find any much more here?
He needs to find some. Miro finally went down to 6th place. Chimp dropping down the back of the zone, finds the knock. Oh, he needs to get the confirm, and he gets it. He finds 1, he finds 2. Joji goes down. Chimp trying to do everything he can to get into a second. It's a 1v1. Larson finally ended up getting taken down, and then smacked down. It's Nosh getting to it, and he swings towards the front of the zone. Magnolia trying to close it out here. Game number 12. Miro and Booga won. Did Chimp and Spade do enough? Chimp with the individual clutch going through should have picked up the 2nd place, but who, for the bragging rights, wins the final 1v1 here, 20th against 19th. Direct leaderboard implication, direct paycheck implication, as Magnolia with the builds continues to just fight Nosh off, keeping the high ground, trying to get Nosh out in the open. Nosh now out of builds, the 4th place comes through, and it should be all she wrote as Magnolia closes it out. That's it, Monster. 12 games down. Are you surprised by our winners?
C'est bon les gars, nous avons un vainqueur. j'espère que vous avez aimé ce live. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner, activer la cloche de notification, liker, partager, commenter, ça ferait vraiment plaisir. Et je vous dis à ciao ciao pour de nouvelles vidéos et de nouveaux lives. Bye bye.